It's actually a photo that I took of him back in 2012. And he'll talk about his background and stuff. But the notable thing is he's the guy that is the creator of podcasting. So him and another guy were the two initial people that started the podcasting protocol that so many of us use right now. The Podfather. Yes, that's one of his nicknames. Ooh, let me try something here. There we go. What do you guys think of that? You like that? Or is that too much? A little over the top? I was just kind of thinking I wanted something a little 80s vibe going.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah. Hey, how are you?
Hello, hello, hello.
So we're live on the stream, but let's get everything ready before we hit the record button in the podcast.
Which stream?
The YouTube's stream.
Oh,
let me send you a link.
You don't stream the No Agenda stream anymore?
I've never streamed No Agenda stream because no one would give me access to it. So.
What do you mean? You always stream there with Darren?
Darren streams to it. Yes, Darren streams every day. But I've asked guys to teach me how to get a stream set up.
No, they hate you. They hate you.
Yeah, they do hate me. I'm banned. I'm banned off IRC. So.
Really?
Oh, you knew that.
No,
I bitched about it.
Believe me, I don't know this. I didn't know
3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Oh, you haven't been on since then?
No. It's that was a perma ban from my understanding. So I haven't even tried. But
I know anything about IRC bans.
Yeah, well, I may be the only one that's got the ban. I don't know.
Is that Bemrose who perma banned you?
It was actually Darren.
Ugh.
Darren O'Neill did it. Yes.
How pathetic. Well, I'll have him unban you. That's no good.
Well, but what's the point? It's kind of like once you're banned, people hate you. You don't get on there, but.
Quite careful now. I'm going to ban you from No Agenda Social.
You might. I know.
You're Russian disinformation artist.
Oh, I've been banning a lot of people from there. Although one of them has.
You can't ban anyone. You can block people from
their
that's
account,
what I mean. But you
block,
can't ban.
Only
I have the power.
You have the full power. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, first of all, let me give you the link for the YouTubes, which is very simple. It's just youtube.com.
Now, where are you giving this to me?
I'm going to give it to you. It'll pop up in a private chat. Actually, I can post it. I mean, it's not going to harm anything, or I can put it into private chat.
Oh, I see here. Oh, hey, yeah. Okay. What is this program? Restream.
So this is a Restream Studio, which is a purely web-based, very, very easy to use, I think, interface for a live streaming.
Mm-hmm. Did you send this link? I don't see the link.
No, I'm still typing it.
Hey, Rich.
There it is.
Yes, I am indeed a vapor. I'm a vapor.
Yes. Adam is. Yes. You've been vaping for a while. Well, we'll get into that. We'll talk about some of these topics. I asked. So there's a little bit of a foobar. I neglected to set up the stream ahead of time and post about it and get people. I mean, I actually tweeted about it, but I didn't set it up.
That's why only 36 people are watching.
Exactly.
I feel so
loved, exactly
Gene.
Right.
Fuck you. Permaban is back on. You're not allowed in anywhere. You're done.
Damn it. But hey, we'll probably be replayed on RT, so it's all good. You just can't watch it in the United States because it's banned. That's all.
What, RT is your stuff? You're kidding, right?
No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I don't have that kind of pull, Dad.
You've completely walked away from me. You don't come anymore. You don't drop by the house. You don't do your note is down. You don't do 2.0 anymore. You just completely you're a YouTuber. You've been sucked in by the Borg. I
got sucked in by the YouTubes. That is true. But yeah, no, I've been busy trying to figure this stuff out. Doing stuff, although we definitely need to get together. And I know
you also have no job. I don't understand.
I don't have a job. I know. I need to get a job. I seriously need a job. You just kind of get used to not working after a while. That's the problem.
This picture of me is very. I know that you took that in Dallas. I remember that very well.
Yes, that was in Dallas. That's correct. Because I don't want to use somebody else's copyrighted material, so I had to get a photo of you that I actually shot. You have that look of enjoyment on your face in that photo.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable time in the cigar bar. I remember it very well. Yeah. It was nice. It was really nice meeting you. I remember we were very road weary, and you set us up and made us feel comfortable in Dallas, and that was highly appreciated. Yeah. And right then and there, I said, dude, this guy is some kind of government asset. I don't know who he's working for, but I like it. Well,
yeah. No, I think I had you guys stay in the Marriott in Plano then. Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. Nice
Plano. Yeah,
evening, Plano. Relaxing. Good time. But dude, 2012. That was 11 years ago. Time flies.
I thought it was 2012. I thought it was.
That's what the photo says. I'm going by the photocopy.
It has to be. It has to be earlier than that because we moved to Austin. I thought in 2010.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe even earlier, end of 2009.
But this was your drive up to Dallas.
Okay.
Which was certainly after you moved there. So this would have been back when you were still living on the lake house. At the lake house.
Yes. Up at Lake Travis. Sure. All right.
Exactly.
So how does this? So this is Griftcast. Hi, everybody. It's Griftcast IRL, which is clearly a wink and a nod to the pool boy. Hi, pool boy. Which of course is also stolen from TRL, which was originally Dial MTV, which is all. It's all derivative. Nothing is new anymore.
Yeah. So, Defango, do you want to pop in here, or are you otherwise disposed? So,
what? You gonna have another person on this show?
Well, I'm gonna have him come in and say hi. I want to introduce. So he's the guy that's been running the YouTube channel forever, and we got to know each other. And he was also a guy that's was pretty active on the Fediverse for at least for a while. But I don't know if he is a whole lot these days. I know he got his Twitter account back.
Who is this?
Defango, Manuel Defango Chavez III. But
I don't think I know him.
Anyway, I've interviewed him. I know that, and I probably have mentioned him before, but I don't know if you've ever chatted with him directly. But either way, I did want to introduce him since it's really, this is the evolution of the channel that he's been running forever. And I've just kind of, snuck my way into, but I think we've got a pretty good back and forth thing going on.
There's more people who are on the Griftcast YouTube channel?
Well, yes. It's actually my channel. Well, I started the Griftcast because I wanted to take it to the man. And by the man, I mean Mr. Tim Pool. And it just kind of stuck, actually. It was a joke at first.
You're anti-pool boy?
Well, I mean, I was actually not anti-pool boy to start with, but then he called me a gang stalker and said I had black SUVs and was like drugging people and taking their brains. So, I became anti-pool boy.
Gene, what have you dragged me into?
I know, right?
What is this? What is going on?
There's a little bit of a controversy going on here. Let me get rid of the annoying background, though.
The cool thing is, all we have to do is just wait for YouTube to take you all down. It'll just be all over. So that happens occasionally. Now, can I still say COVID was a scamdemic?
Nope, didn't hear what you were saying.
This is why we do podcasting 2.0. So
right?
I have to be careful. I can't say,
and that's what we're going to talk about.
I can't say any of that stuff. Okay, all right.
This is not Joe Rogan on a private network. This is on YouTube.
Well, hey, did you see that Joe Rogan had to censor me? I got censored on the last.
Did you?
Last
I watched a bunch of your clips from that show, but I didn't realize you were. Well, here, let's officially start because then you can get into the story.
Oh, we haven't started yet. Okay.
This is the prelude to kind of let people filter in and get stuff going.
Oh, okay. So you can cut all that out that I just said, so no one gets in trouble.
We'll be fine. We'll just edit it in post.
I made enough noise over it.
Exactly.
We'll edit it in post.
Fixing it in post is what it's called. We'll fix it in post. Yes.
We'll clean it up.
Usually what I do is just cut out that one little part.
Cut out the sliver of the thing.
No, Joe, they cut out the audio and wiped out my mouth.
They wiped so they couldn't read your
they couldn't read the
really
lips.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, I agreed to it. I said, yeah, you should totally do that. I don't want that to be the focus of 3.5 hours of talk.
Yeah.
So that's all it would be. So yeah, totally.
Well, that's the whole point of that show. Okay, let me just get started because at some point I got to actually do the beginning of the podcast. So,
okay. All right. It's a show. It's a show, everybody. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. I'll stick myself up here.
You look good, Gene, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I like this look for you. I like this look for you. Are those Sennheisers?
These are AKG's 701s.
Mm-hmm.
K701s.
Yeah, those are cool.
My favorite set of headphones.
I have the Audio Technicas. I kind of dig in those.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and they're. I remember you used to have issues, so you could only use Sony's because they were the only loud ones.
Well, we can talk about it, but my hearing got fixed. So
yeah, that's awesome. All right. This is Sergina, and today I have a very special guest with me, Adam Curry. I've certainly known Adam for apparently over a decade now, and I've had many wonderful conversations with him once before on a podcast, but today he's joining me both on audio and video. So if you're listening to this in podcast form, I'll make sure you check out the video of this, which will be in the link that's in the podcast notes. And if you're watching this, well, then please do sign up for the podcast as well. We have plenty of other cool interviews coming up, and I'll be talking more about them in the coming weeks. Adam, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Gene. I'm just going to put up with the video. As you know, I really despise it, but you're my friend. I love you, and that's and so anything you ever ask me, I would do for you. I would walk through over hot coals for you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's very.
True. It's true. We've been friends for a long time, and I appreciate your friendship.
Thank you. Well, and I yours, obviously. In fact, we even started a company together.
We did. Yeah.
Didn't go too far, but
no, it's too bad. Well, I realized more and more how hard the hardware is called hardware for a reason. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And I have to say that the outgrowth of that is now 7-8 years later. I'm using the Rodecaster Pro 2, and it's pretty much what we envisioned. So I'm happy.
It's very similar.
It's very close to what we were thinking about. Some other guy actually sent me. Hold on a second. Just 1 second. Here. Here. You'll laugh your ass off when you see this.
Okay.
Some guy sent me this. Look at this. Look at this beauty.
Yes.
And it's open circuit board.
Oh, that looks kind of cool. A little kind of retro future.
Yeah, but so there's 2 microphones. You can mix in USB. It can record out to USB. You can record an external aux. You can split the mic channel. I mean, Pod Mobile is what it's called. Oh, look, there's a QR code. Everybody,
nice.
So this guy sent this to me. I'm like, holy shit! I wanted to show it to you because I'm like, oh man, this was kind of the first idea. Although we had it computerized, he's all analog, which I really appreciate.
Right?
But yeah, we had let me close. We had a company, and I, it was really fun doing it. We selected a bad third partner. I'll take the blame for that.
I'll definitely give it to you, but yes.
And so that didn't work, but we had fun trying.
Conceptually, it was great. I definitely had a lot of fun on getting a little deeper into the hardware side than I've ever done before as well, and learning a little bit of CAD to model like the case and all that stuff.
The case was beautiful, man.
Searching.
at least
for dials.
10 boxes that look just like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was neat, and in a lot of ways, even though obviously we're not making any money off the Rodecaster product, it is cool to see something actualized in reality that was quite similar to what we originally created and were prototyping.
But their retail is $6.99. We never would have done.
No.
I mean, with all the stuff they put,
we were
in there,
breaking even at like $700.
Yeah, exactly. It was not enough. It was hard.
Yeah, but still, I mean the fact that there are now devices that are created specifically for speech and audio, maybe not just podcasts. You could certainly record books, audiobooks with it as well, things like that. You could do shows, but this was a tiny, tiny little fragment of the audio market because everyone's creating devices for music.
Right.
And so I'm like, I remember, in fact, the microphone that I see in front of you and the same one that's in front of me right now.
Recommended by you.
That's right. Yep. That microphone I learned about, in fact, it was just the RE20, not the 320, by visiting talk radio stations going, oh, so that's how they get the sound. That's very interesting. I want to see their whole setup, because I was always listening to talk radio, but I wasn't exposed until much, much later to the insides of it. But now it's selling products that people actually use for speech is a lot more common. But we're not here to talk about what I know. We're here to talk about you.
I think this was initially developed for kick drums.
That's how they marketed it. But the thing is, it's got such a great profile to it, because the RE20 is just completely flat.
Right.
And the 320 actually, for me anyway, it lets me avoid having to put in an EQ in the chain.
Oh, well, you know me. I mean, I EQ everything.
Yeah.
I put, the compression, my waveforms are flat. This is my sound. But I love this because I can spit in it, by plosives. I'm going to die spitting in this thing for sure. I love, and I'd hate to have to open it up and take a look at what's inside. I bet it's really nasty. That's why I have 3 of them.
Are you up to 3 now? Wow.
3, yeah. I thought I blew them up, but actually I didn't blow them up. It was a faulty cable, so I had 3 at a certain point, and I've tried other mics, the classic SM7, which I've had for ages, and then that square Beck microphone, which was just way too dynamic.
It looks neat.
It looks very cool. Actually, I use that on the other side of the desk for my wife, for Tina, when we do Curry and the Keeper. It's great for her because she's like like this and looking at the iPad and whatnot. So and it really captures her. So I'm happy with it. And I have a Neumann, which I love, but the kind of compression I use, you're just sucking. I mean, you're sucking in from Fredericksburg to Austin every dog fart. It's just unusable. Yeah.
Well, it's I think you develop, this mic is, I think, my 4th or 5th mic that I bought in testing different mics to see which ones I like the sound of the most. And I haven't looked back after I got this one. I was like, holy cow, that's the one I'm sticking with. Yeah. This is the Gene sound coming out of this mic, for sure.
Yeah, you got a real slow noise gate on it, which I kind of like. It's kind of nice for you. Yeah, I like that. Although I do hear some like fizzy, like a LED or something. I hear a very light ground loop. I hear something.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I'm super sensitive to that shit. So
yeah. No, that's good. Well, that's one thing, and I'm going to have you do this while we're talking. I probably should have done this before we hit the record button, but too bad it's going to be in the podcast. Hit your settings button there in the software that you're in. It should be a little spinning gear looking thing towards the bottom of the screen.
Oh, bottom of the screen?
Yeah. Do you see a little spinning gear?
Oh, yes, here in the middle of the screen. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
what do you want me to do?
Yeah. Click that, go to audio, and then select advanced, and make sure that high quality audio is turned on.
Now, do you have my video running? You see my video, right?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Let's see. Advanced. What do you want? High quality or on or off?
On. Is it on already?
High resolution audio. Do you want stereo?
Yes.
Stereo.
No. Don't need stereo.
Echo
unless you're gonna
off,
sing or anything.
Noise suppression is off.
Yeah, all that stuff should be
Auto
off.
gain control I'll leave on, I guess.
I usually turn that off.
Oh, let's turn it off.
Hey, somebody just did a 33 $1.33 donation. Look at that.
Oh, is that Super Chat?
Super Chat. Best podcast in the universe. No agenda. Sorry, been a lifetime dirtbag for not donating to them.
Oh.
Got to work on, getting a knighthood. I guess
hold on.
You've been de-douched.
You've been de-douched.
Nice.
Yes.
Look at that. A live de-douching on the air. 33 is the magic number. Gotta love it. There's probably a lot of people that are watching right now that have not been listeners of No Agenda going, what the hell just happened?
I doubt it. Everyone listens to No Agenda. What are you talking about?
You guys do have a pretty wide reach. That's true. That is very true.
There's this open source as part of Podcasting 2.0. It's an open source stats system that was put up by John Spurlock, who's a ex-Silicon Valley guy, lives in Dallas, basically quit and, to see what he could do to move podcasting forward. And he created this op3.org or op3.dev, and it's open stats, and it's really good. So it's not like, it goes way beyond the IAB certification where, 1 second of audio is a full download and all that horse shit. And it looks like we have, on average, about 850,000 people listening to any No Agenda episode, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
We could make money with advertising with that audience.
Well, you could have done that a long time ago, but the more important way to make money is by direct from the listener method, or the producer. And you guys call them producers.
Yes, we would have been long off the air if we had taken advertising. We wouldn't have been. It would have not worked. That was.
Man, you would have run out of gold and VPNs to sell.
Gold, or mattresses, or what else?
Pillows. Yes.
Squarespace back in the day. Squarespace. And,
exactly.
Tommy John's. Although I would have loved to have sell some fleshlights. That would have been a cool one to do.
That's kind of what you're drinking out of right now. For people that don't have video, you're missing out, guys. You're missing out. You got to watch the video portion of it.
Every appearance I do, I take one with me.
Do you? Nice. Yeah. Got to bring the fleshlight. That's right.
That's not a fleshlight.
But I don't know. It looks like one. I don't know what you're holding there. But now the other question I'm sure some people have is that vape thing you're puffing on is huge. What is that?
Well, this is a geek vape, but it's really more about the tank, because it's a rebuild. So I stopped smoking. I've been a smoker all my life since I was 13, and the last probably 15 years or so, maybe less, I was really smoking, more marijuana, but I'd mix it up with tobacco from time to time. It also gives you like a little nicotine
buzz.
Yeah, a little nicotine buzz, and I microdose all day long, wake and bake to before I go to bed, and just kind of like, it was I don't know, my culture in the Netherlands, kind of where I came from, and I never really gave that up until end of November, and I had to have this oral procedure done, which we can get into if you want.
Like tooth surgery.
The bone ossification, so I've been regrowing bone since the end of November. And my periodontist, I got a great team. One guy does all the pretty stuff, and another guy does all the surgery stuff, and who's also a pilot. We're now kind of buddies. We are buddies. And he said, like a week before the surgery, he calls me up and said, Adam, dude, I really want this to be successful. And I want it to be easy for me and easy for you with the healing. So you've got to stop putting fucking fire in your mouth. I'm like, okay. And so I stopped and I quit, and I have not really, I've not smoked at all since then. I have an actual vaporizer which doesn't burn the flower, but it heats it up. And and it gets to 185 degrees, and then it's kind of like one of those vaporizers with the big plastic bag. Only it's small.
This is like a smolder instead of a fire kind of thing.
Correct. Right? Yeah. And then it cools down, so you can you're inhaling like a very, very cool stream of vapor. But even that, for some reason, it's like, I don't know. I quit almost altogether, and I find out I get a lot more done in my day.
Shocker.
Go figure. I set up this software called Trillium. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But Trillium is it's open source package, and it's like this database with a front end. You run it on your home server, and you can have a client for it or a web client. And it's really an outliner, which I love. It organizes your day with to-do lists. It's completely integrated. So I was so distracted by setting that up at the same time. I never even had like oh man, I wish I could have a smoke. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just gotten, no one's complained. It doesn't seem like I'm less entertaining or, if anything, no. I'm probably calmer than I was. But yeah. So back to the vape. The vape shop in Fredericksburg, Texas, where I live in Hill Country, is called Vapalicious. Jerry and Kathy run it. They're old, they're probably in the witness protection program. They're in their mid 60s, and they started a real vape shop. So not with Juuls or any of that crap, but with only organic, real nicotine, no funky flavors except for all tobacco derivatives. And they started that to help people stop smoking.
I can't get bubble gum there? Is this what you're saying?
No, absolutely not. And so this one, you actually rebuild it. You wind the coil yourself. You put the cotton in. So instead of, most people get a tank and they put an element in. It's from China. Who the hell knows what's in it? It gets all nasty. And you just don't know. So I figured if I'm going to do this anyway, I'm going to do it right. And it's a nice ritual, whereas rolling a joint used to be, I could roll them with my left hand behind my back while driving.
I think I've seen you do that.
You probably have. Like an old school where, Papa has to clean his pipe once a week, so I sit down, I got all my gear and my tools and I make the coil, you don't have to wind once a week, but put new cotton in it. And, this one has temperature control, so it heats up slowly to 425 degrees over a 10-second period at 14 watts. It's completely configurable. And it looks like a little robo penis, uncircumcised. So let me just suck on it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, and my whole story with the THC is that I did a very scientific test.
Yeah, you need like 100 grams before you get stoned.
Exactly.
I got to tell you, so I did this procedure, and it turns out if you have red hair in the family or anything Irish, you have a very huge tolerance. So this was a 5.5 hour procedure, and they knocked me out with medical fentanyl, and I kept waking up.
Oh man.
Well, no, it's okay. You're all. It's just to put you to sleep. It's not like
but you couldn't feel stuff though.
No.
Okay.
They shot me up with Nova or lidocaine everywhere. But I kept waking up like, hey, and I kept talk, knocking my teeth out, or something like that. I'm like, and I want to scratch my chin with my left hand, like someone slaps my hand down. Give him more. And he said, we gave you enough to put down an elephant. You just kept coming back. So I have high tolerance for that. And although if I vape some weed now, I get pretty loopy pretty quick because that tolerance goes away pretty quick.
Just from not doing it for a while.
Yeah. No, but with you, it's like I think you would literally have to. It doesn't start with you until like 100 milligrams, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then my when I finally got to that point where it was noticeable, I realized like, I'm having less fun playing video games because I'm not as good at it. My focus and concentration are not where I want to be. I'm like, why the fuck do people do this? This makes no sense to me.
That's the desired effect, Gene. What's your problem?
That's the opposite of what I want.
No, well, then don't do it.
Well, Coke is good. I will say that. It's just not healthy. Don't do Coke. But it does have the desired effect.
Not my drug, brother. Not my drug. Not my drug at all. No.
Well, I can't do it for obvious reasons because I don't want to be a John Candy. But it's
for sure.
It does work. Just don't do it, kids. So let's talk about podcasting 2.0. That's a big topic, and obviously something that you are at the very core of. As a super fast, 3-sentence refresher, tell people about podcasting 1.0 and how that came about, and then let's jump on to podcasting 2.0.
Podcasting 1.0 really started in 2000. Dave Weiner was building software for weblogs, which I would say he invented. He took a format called RSS and really turned it into RSS, as we know it today. That's used to syndicate content, syndicate blogs. And he had this very interesting product called Radio Userland. And it was a little server that you ran on your laptop. We didn't have phones then or anything like that. And so you opened up a browser, just accessing this server on your own computer, and you could write blog posts and then post that to a server somewhere. Like just a regular old hosting thing, just something you dropped a file in. And you could also subscribe to other blogs with an aggregator, an RSS aggregator. And I was really enamored by the concept. And I use that. I like it. It's called Radio Userland. It's like, it's like everyone has their own little radio station. I didn't really quite connect all the pieces yet because what it didn't have was an enclosure. It didn't have a way to attach a file to it. And at the time, I had this. In fact, it's a blog post I wrote called "The Last Yard," I think, or "The Last Mile," whatever it was. It's out there still. And I was in Amsterdam. It was around 2000, and we had one of the first countries to get cable modems. And the idea of a cable modem was revolutionary. Not a lot of people will remember it, but you had to dial up, tie up your phone line or your fax line to get on the internet. And now you didn't have to do that. It wasn't particularly fast or anything like that, but at least you didn't have to dial up anymore. And that was pretty revolutionary because the computer was just on. You could go there. But if you wanted to watch video, which is what I was looking at the time, the experience would be click. You wait for 5 minutes, then it would, and this was real video, so it wasn't even really streaming. It was just a very highly compressed thing. It download, you click it, it opened up another application, and then it would play some shitty video for a minute. And I thought, why don't we? There's no need to do this live in real time. What if the computer already knew what you wanted and was downloading stuff in the background? And then when it had it downloaded, that's when it told you there was something new. I'm like, oh, and then you click on it, at least you'll have an immediate experience. And you could do, high, big file sizes because you wouldn't know anyway that it was doing this in the background. And for my broadcast experience, I knew that, like the 6 o'clock news, it's not all live at that minute. Packages have been done a week before, the stuff that was done in the afternoon. It's really the host that sits there and rolls it all out live in one sequence. And so I flew to New York. I convinced him to build that, and that's what created RSS 2.0, which includes the attachment. And we were happily using that for a couple of years. No. RSS 2.0.
Oh, RSS 2.0. Right. Okay. Not podcasting 2.0.
No.
RSS
podcasting
2.0
didn't exist. The word didn't exist, the concept, until I saw my first iPod in 2003. And I looked at this thing. You remember, it was the big one with the hard drive in it. It had that kind of beautiful white finish. It had the big dial on the front. It
looked like a bar of soap.
To me, it looked like the Sony AM transistor solid state radio my grandmother had given me when I was 7, which had a 9-volt battery. And I looked at this thing and went, radio, not jukebox or digital Walkman. I said, this is a radio. And then I saw the mechanism. At the time, you had to push it into its dock and it would synchronize with iTunes and it would put everything from your computer. It would sync it up basically. And so that's when I set about building in AppleScript something called the iPodder script that would subscribe to one. We didn't have a name for it, but one feed, and that was my own. And so when I published a new MP3 at the time, then it would detect this, but it would be polling the whole time, and it would pull it down to my computer, my Mac, and then it would, once it was down, it would synchronize to the iPod, and would put it there right in its own little playlist, which at the time was daily source code, and it would list, every single new show. And there it is. There's the old school one. And this was like, holy crap, this was a no-brainer to me. And so once I had that, I put the word out on my blog. I said, I need developers. I'm not a developer, but here's the concept. And we need applications that can do this. And to help y'all, I'm going to do a show. I just called it a show every day. I'll release it in my feed as an MP3. And it was called the Daily Source Code. And all I did was talk about the development of these applications. And so we had iPodder X, we had iPodder Lemon, we had all these different versions for Windows, for Mac, and for Unix. I built a little directory, which it was at iPodder.org, which was in itself kind of revolutionary because it was a world outline. It was outliners that were all linked together. And, we had, I don't know, about 4,000 podcasts, but I was doing interviews, and it clicked for some reason. And it was really it was like WGBH, Tony Khan, who started putting NPR content on there. The BBC grasped it very early, and I moved to the UK around this time, so I was there and I could do interviews. And then I got a call from Steve Jobs, or actually from Eddie Q, and he says, "Do you have time to meet Steve in like 2005, 2006?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, maybe. Let me check my calendar." And from that was the launch of podcasting in iTunes. And after that, I mean, it just took off. It was just big. So now we'll move forward. A lot of things happened. In fact, it was podcasting was the darling, was the hottest shit. But then things turned, and a couple things happened. One, our biggest so-called competitor, Odeo, flipped the script, and they closed as a podcast creation and listening platform and became Twitter, literally using the publish-subscribe mechanism of podcasting initially, which is why it didn't work very well. We had the Twitter fail well because the podcasting RSS ecosystem is not really meant to be centralized. It's meant to be completely decentralized. But then we also got Facebook and then YouTube. And YouTube came in with, like the $1 billion price tag. And it was anybody could, it was free. You could upload video for free. And to this day, of course, that's still the case. Which is really the big beauty of YouTube is it doesn't cost you anything to do whatever you want. And that pushed podcasting down to page 5 below the fold. No one cared. We had, what else did we have? Pandora, the phase out of Napster. So really, but meanwhile, podcasting did just kind of trickle along, growing a little, maybe 4 or 5% a year until 2014, 2015, when Serial came out, which was, a true crime podcast. And it's just one of those magic moments where everybody had just been binging their asses off on streaming, like basically Netflix. And oh man, I watched all 18 seasons of Breaking Bad last weekend. Your eyes like this, House of Cards, it was all being released. You could binge it all in one go. And Serial came out, which is, true crime is very compelling, certainly to an American audience. And I think it's still the number one category or close to it. And you could not binge it unless you waited for the whole series to play out. So you could catch up with like 3 episodes, but you had to wait until next week to hear what happened. And that was the revolution. People were like, "What do you think has happened?" It was water cooler talk. And that just launched everything back into the stratosphere. And it was going great. I mean, it was really, really rocking along. But Apple had kind of become the default on-ramp for podcasting. Like you had to be in iTunes. And that had 2 reasons. One, they were the leader with the iPhone had now come out, and you had the podcast app on the iPhone. But also
you could finally get podcasts without using iTunes. You could do it from the phone direct.
Correct. All great stuff. But more importantly, for reasons that it was really their own issue of how their own podcast app worked, any other independent podcast app was using the Apple directory, which was open and was free to them. So, always be wary of free. And at a certain point, a couple things happened. It was March 2020. They started taking people off. There was a coordinated effort, and the coordinated effort happened amongst all Silicon Valley companies, Apple, Facebook, Google, and they took off Alex Jones, the X22 report, just whatever, just some nut job conspiracy podcast. Who gives a shit? No, took it off. But when you take it off the Apple podcast infrastructure, it went away from Overcast and Podcast Addict and everything else because that's what those guys were using. And that, to me, was like, hold on a second, Houston, we have a problem. So I called up my buddy Dave Jones, who we've been tinkering with stuff for 10 years at the time now, and we've been friends, just trying to build stupid shit that we liked and wound up using ourselves, And we've, I would have an idea every other year, like, hey, and Dave would go, okay, let's build it. So now I called up and I said, hey, we're going to put together our own index. We'll have an API, which is free for developers to use. We'll fund it value for value, which at this time, No Agenda had really perfected the the value for value idea, where you have the in our case producers supporting the show. So I figured, it's not going to be that expensive to spin this up. Over time, as more and more people use it, we'll have to do better in our income stream. And at the same time, it also found the Lightning Network, which is this. I call it Venmo for Bitcoin. So you can do really fast transactions, very efficiently, cheaply. Which is all relative, of course. It's amazing, and any of these technologies, amazing that it works at all. And I said, and we're going to bake this in so that so we can have a real-time value for value exchange. Someone can say, I want to pay this, give this podcast $1 an hour, and the minute you press play, it starts spitting, a 60th of $1 every minute back to the podcaster. And from that came a number of things, which is Boostagrams, which is very similar to the YouTube Super Chat, but also because just by technical definition of how you add this to RSS in a namespace, came the podcast namespace. And what I didn't realize is that for 10 years, the podcast industry had just been in iron, just blocked, because no features would be added unless Apple added it. So if Apple didn't add it, then all the smaller guys couldn't use it. No one could have those features. So everyone basically sit around and go, fuck Apple, man. No, we can't do that. Apple's not going to do it, blah, blah. And they had academies and steering committees and nonprofits that were funded to convince Apple and to move podcasting forward. When all it really took was just a couple of yahoos like Adam and Dave to sit down and just do it. And we just did it. And this it was the uncorking of developer creativity that just all flew in like, holy crap, I've been waiting to do this, and I have this business and that business and this thing I want to do. And that's when I came up with this idea of the splits. And this was, I think, this is the revolution that is in podcasting 2.0, which is completely compatible with any podcasting 2.0 app, works with any old legacy feed, and the new feeds work in legacy apps, is that you as the podcaster can determine that a percentage of what you are given through streaming value for value or Boostagrams can go to anyone you want in any percentage. And that way we could cut in the app developers who had never been in the money flow. Joe Rogan, before he went to Spotify, his millions of dollars, Podcast Addict didn't get any of that. Those guys were relegated to giving it away for free in the App Store and then hoping to get $1.99 a month, maybe, for some premium features. And now all of a sudden they could say, well, I'm going to take 2% of this. And it's all transparent, so everybody knows. And now we see this ecosystem of new apps, which are, they actually can hire an extra developer. There's a money flow that also enables investors to come in and say, oh, I can see you're actually making money with this. It's not a lot right now, but, that'll grow over time. So a whole new industry was born, which was perfect timing, because the podcast industrial complex, which is this, go to podcast movement, any of these bullshit conferences where it's basically big companies spending they were spending way too much money as a kind of an ESG checkbox, like, oh, I need to, I can fund a BIPOC podcast and, LGBTQ podcast and a global warming podcast. And so as money flowing around everywhere, ridiculous amounts, then we got Spotify overspending on all kinds of podcast companies. And as you've known me long enough, the golden rule that I learned in 2006 with the company Pod Show, which I raised $65 million. Can't monetize the network. I raised $65 million. It never returned to the investors. And I realized after 10 years, the mistake was it just doesn't work that way with decentralized media. And so now as people are crapping out on the Vine because the free money ride is over, the advertising is severely suppressed, it's the first thing to go, always, is the marketing money. Now people are looking for ways, if they're really serious about podcasting, to make it work for them. And turns out the value for value concept with 2.0 is a great way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that wasn't short, but at least I got it all in one go.
No, you got, and now you can take a breath. No, that was awesome. I think it gives a good history of kind of how you got here, which is really very organically. I mean, everything you've done out of your own personal interest.
Yes.
And I believe selfishness is the key to innovation. When people want to do things to make things easier for themselves, it makes it easier for others. And it quite often ends up creating something that wouldn't have existed otherwise.
I have a little different take on it all these years later.
Mm-hmm.
I always used to wonder, like the rap guys would win an award and they'd always say, I want to thank God. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I was used for this. This was my mission for whatever reason. This is what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I, if anything, I can motivate people. I can be enthusiastic. I can, the Podcasting 2.0 developers, and I set up a Mastodon for that. We have a GitHub, but I find it so boring. You can't really have a discussion. In fact, that always results in people fighting and bitching. So
always.
Always. And then we fork it off. I'm going to fork and we'll leave you.
Yeah.
So we have this podcast.
Fork you.
Yeah, right. Podcastindex.social, which is, it's social, so we throw ideas around. And just like 1.0, we have a podcast we do every Friday, and it's Podcasting 2.0. We call it the board meeting, and we literally talk about the development we're doing. And so, we have a band, and it's an orchestra, and we got a guy with a banjo, a washboard, a triangle, electric guitar, a guy who drums, with one stick. I mean, it's all these different pieces, and you just kind of, just talk about everybody. It's easy, and then or bring someone in, and we have them in the board meeting, and we'll talk about what they're doing. And again, I am really convinced that even though it's not that much, although it is kind of moving along now, the fact that everybody can participate in the flow of the value that comes back, so actual little bits of Bitcoin and Satoshi, that I think is what strings it all together. I think that is somehow the motivator, because anybody can get a piece of that with any project they're doing.
And talk a little more about, like, you mentioned the split, but just for people that haven't used Podcasting 2.0 apps, which, by the way, I went in and looked at the apps now. It's got to be pushing 100 at this point. I mean, it's a huge list.
I think it's 73 apps and services
that
use it. Yeah. It's at newpodcastapps.com. You can see that there. You can filter it by hosting companies or by apps. It's interesting because finally people are starting to experiment a little bit with different experiences. So not the typical, inbox. Here's what I've listened to. Here's what I subscribe to. Using it in different ways, and I'm seeing like noagendashow.net, our website, which is built by Tim Codes Monkey. All of our stuff is done by our producers, and he manages that completely himself. He has all these 2.0 features like chapters and transcripts and location and guests, and all of this stuff has now been pulled into that. So we're seeing it really, because it's RSS, is spreading everywhere in all these different cool ways. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how that relates to splits. If you wanted to ask,
we'll talk about splits, but the idea is, the cool part of it is, with the RSS being backwards compatible, somebody could be using the built-in Apple app right now, download one of the Podcasting 2.0 compatible apps, reload their same RSS lists of podcasts. Yeah, in fact, I think you can export that through an OML file or something. OPML. Yeah. And then have a whole new experience that includes more interactive type features, ability to send Satoshis back, the ability to view images that are embedded in different chapters, chapters at all.
Yeah, there's a transcripts. There's a big one now, which is cross-app comments, and I'm very excited about this. It's been very hard to get this to work, but we're almost there. Thanks actually to the big Mastodon push, with the journalists leaving Twitter in a huff, but they didn't really. But okay, but thanks to them talking about Mastodon. Under the hood in Mastodon, which is just a client for what used to be known as GNU Social, is ActivityPub. And ActivityPub is, it's a publish subscribe mechanism, which, no surprise, works like everything else. It all works like email ultimately. And so now you can make a comment on one app, and you can read it and comment on that very post in any other app. And this is what's really cool, because you don't just have to be on the same app or the same, commenting service or good pods or whatever. You can do it right there in the app. And I would say that is the big aha moment, like aha, but duh, as long as there's no friction. So you can send a boostergram to, just like the super chats we're seeing come in, right from where you're listening to the episode. You can make the comment right there. You don't have to go, everything is contained in app. And we've now perfected something we call LIT, which stands for Live Item Tag, and that is essentially YouTube Live. So the app will alert you when Griftcast is going live. You open it up, chat room's there, live video stream is there, and your boostergrams, which is equivalent to Super Chat. And we've been doing that with audio for about half a year now, and now we're succeeding. And Podverse is the first one that does it pretty much perfectly, because you have this HLC video format or video transport, which is chunks of video, and we don't have to get into it, but so this is we intend to provide an alternative to YouTube Live. Unfortunately, not with the free video hosting, but there's a solution for that, which Alex Gates has been working on at No Agenda to, and that's the web torrent. So the minute you pick up the live stream, you are in essence relaying it to the next person who's watching the live stream. So it's completely, again, almost completely
decentralized.
Decentralized. Yeah. That's right. Fuck centralization. It's failed. It doesn't work. We know this. And if it does work, then you're heavily censored. That's the problem. And it's all advertising. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. And definitely I want to shout out Alex, because he was one of the first guys I interviewed on this podcast.
Yeah.
And he's like the most quiet, kind of demure guy that is just a genius. He just sees a problem and goes, oh, well, here's how you fix that. Here's the solution.
He is a genius. He's certified. Yeah. He's like 24.
Yeah.
Certified genius. I know.
I was blown away by him.
And we call him the Podcasting 2.0 consultant. Everybody has a nickname. Everybody has a nickname in our world.
No, it's very cool. And this is, like you said, you were kind of like your mission, but you've definitely taken the deep dive into it. You do a lot of podcasts. And
I do.
In fact, why don't you name all the podcasts you currently do?
Yeah, I do too many, but it's because I really love them. So No Agenda is the one that I do Sundays and Thursdays. We do it live, but it is in essence a podcast. It's audio only, will only be audio. It's about 3.5 hours long, completely supported through the value for value model. All of my podcasts are. So that's Sundays and Thursdays. On Wednesdays, I alternate. I try to do MoFax, which is two American guys sit down and we talk about what's really going on in the world, particularly from a racial standpoint. Mo's black, Adam's white. We're both American dudes. Turns out we have a lot more in common than we don't, but we learn a lot. And certainly the first 80 episodes has been a lot more of me learning. Mo really puts it together. I thought I was pretty clued into the world, and certainly that I know I'm not a racist, but when you really go through some historical facts and just learn from another guy's experience, there's still a lot of really fucked up shit that is just mind-boggling. And I learn a lot. It's like Martin Luther King. No, it would be Malcolm X. That's the guy you want. There's a lot of horse shit going on in the Black American community, which really is equally as bad for Black Americans as anything else that's happening. And so that to me is like going to school. I love that. Mo's a Christian, so we come at it from an interesting angle together. And it's not always easy to get that podcast done. The schedule is challenging. It's challenging for him for a multitude of reasons. Also, it seems sometimes like, some force just doesn't want us to do it. I mean, if you've ever listened to the Bruce Springsteen, Barack Obama podcast, they ripped the idea off from us and they did a shitty job. I mean, it's really good. And you learn things you never heard before. Like Rosa Parks was basically the marketing version of the real thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And even Kanye, Mo has been able to explain Kanye very well, and the age-old struggle between Black Americans and Jewish Americans. There's a lot of stuff that is just not explained very well, and he has an interesting take. At the same time, we learned that a lot of situations are completely unnecessary because he thought he knew what I was thinking as a white man. And I thought I knew what he was thinking as a black man. And it turns out, no, it was completely stupid. It was exactly the opposite. And we were actually on the same page. So how society has really done a number on us on purpose. And so we alternate that for sure. Every 14 days, I do Curry and the Keeper with Tina, my wife. And, that really, I need to thank you because she started with her first interview that she had done. She's a nonprofit maven. She's been in running nonprofit and doing communications for most of her professional life. Most recently, Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Texas. And she's now, as we say, semi-retired from corporate life. And you wanted to interview her, and she was really nervous about it. And she's like, why does no one cares about me? Why does anyone want to interview me? And I said, because you're interesting. And she's, no, I'm not. I said, well, I think you are. I married you. I wouldn't marry you. Well, I did marry her for her money, but still. And she found out that, I actually have stuff to say. I said, yes, you do. And it was probably also that you and I were talking, succession planning. Like I need a backup plan. I need an exit plan, and that plan is Curry and the Keeper. So we do a show once every 14 days. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, and some really cool things have come out of that. It's also value for value. We get a lot of wine, a lot of expensive wine, much more value than the Satoshis we get. But still, it has about 9,000 people that listen on a regular basis and growing. And it's brought a lot of fun people into our lives and a lot of joy, and it's really fun. I knew, and this is what I knew from, I used to be a Howard Stern fan before he went all, woke. And, he was totally, he was against the man. And I loved how he interviewed people. And he would have his wife at the time, Allison, would come on, and he would say, if you can just be honest, it'd be really cool. Just answer me on. And she could never do that because she had to do all showbiz type answers and be very cagey. And I knew that, Tina and I could probably do this. We can really speak open and honestly about our lives and what's happening and our relationship. And it really struck a chord really quickly with people. And so that's a very successful startup. And then the fourth one is Podcasting 2.0, which we do on Fridays. And that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is the update of what's happening with Podcasting 2.0.
Yeah. So I got to ask, because I think I've asked the last time I interviewed, are we going to get even just one more episode of Daily Source Code ever?
The problem with Daily Source Code is, and that show really morphed over the years into something completely different. And a big part of it was music. And, I didn't want to be made an example of, by playing licensed music or anything like that. And so I really just had to stop. What is interesting, though, is that The Index, I will rebrand it eventually, The Index is now being set up for exactly that. So musicians are circumventing the traditional system. They're going to places like Wavlake, WAVLAKE, who are now allowing you to release your music with the value block, with a value for value built in, with split, so you can actually in real time be paying the writer, the composer, the bass player, the drummer, the singer, the roadie, mom who invested in the van, whatever. And so now people are building apps for that specifically for that, and it'll work exactly the same way. And I think we could do this. We could do it for PDFs, for books. This is a much bigger revolution, and that, to me, that really is value for value. Even set up a website, valueforvalue.info, value4value.info, that explains the concept and has pointers to different places where this is happening. And I think that is the way of the future for products that are hard to value. It's like, what is a podcast worth? Well, it's really whatever it's worth to you, not the person who's making it. What is a book worth? Well, it's really what it's worth to you as a reader. So we're flipping the script on really on the creative model if people want a sustainable business. And that is much more interesting to me. I think we will get to a point where I can do a podcast, and there's a technical term called a remote item, where I could literally play a song in my podcast, and anything that came in to my podcast for that 3 minutes or whatever would be split up between me and all the splits of the person whose song I'm using. So when that happens, daily source code will come back.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, the whole split thing is very interesting, because you're doing a service to the people creating the podcast, because presumably, let's say it was just a single transaction, somebody would then manually need to say, well, I'm going to pay my co-host this much. I'm going to pay, the guy that wrote our jingle for the beginning of the music this much. But you're allowing people to do, and in some ways, it's actually similar to what Locals does, which is that
without the centralized Locals bit.
Right,
Exactly.
But the fees are just based on the total donation, so it's all percentages. It's not like a fixed, you're paying $50 no matter how many people actually listen to it, kind of thing. It's and not only that, you're also leaving that final control in the hands of the listener. So if you're listening to something that you don't like and you don't think it's worth any money, you're not paying. If you're listening to something, you're like,
you got to ask yourself, if you find no value, what are you doing wasting your time?
Right. Well, I think a lot of us have started things that turned out to be crap after watching or listening for a while. So that certainly could happen. But the idea that then once you turn the spigot on, you say, hey, I'm really enjoying this. This is great. It's easily worth a couple of bucks an hour or more for me to consume, and the enjoyment that I'm getting out of it. Yeah, exactly. In that scenario, then they don't have to think about who gets what. It's all done by the percentages in the RSS feed, right?
Correct. Or specifically in the value block, and so. The feed is the source of truth. So whatever happens in the RSS feed itself, that's the truth, and that's just the end of it. So that's how everything is determined. What is important to understand is that this was a big learning moment for me. This happened 14 years ago, as we had started No Agenda, and we started with the typical, why don't you subscribe for $3 an episode or $3 a month or whatever, with predictable results. You get $300 on a monthly basis. Like, well, we need more to do this because it's actual work. And then we just said, well, why don't you just pay us whatever you think it's worth? And at that time we had said $5 or whatever. And so we got still a lot of people with $5, but we got a surprising amount with 50 and a couple of 500. And so, so there's people who value this at $500, which may be a lot for them. It may be nothing to them. I don't know. I mean, the richest people I know are the ones who walk around with plastic bags, Gene. It's not the guy who steps out of the rolls with, I know some of those, but it's all like Cliff Bernstein, I'll never forget. He would come into MTV with a D'Agostino shopping bag, and he was, managed Metallica and all these huge bands. Very, very wealthy guy, and he wouldn't give you. Well, I always give beggars money, but most people would step right over him if you were in the street. And so you really don't know. We've had donations, one-off donation, $10,000 in one go, and they send you a note like, and here's why. Why should you can't question that. So in a weird way, it balances out really well. Even though we know that the percentage of people who donate at all is probably, I think we're high at No Agenda, probably about 4%, but in general, 2 to 3% of the entire audience are the ones that will donate. And so part of the idea that we didn't even come up with is the idea of calling someone out. Our producers, as we don't call them listeners, we call them producers, and everyone has a responsibility. You produce with money, you produce with stories, you produce with time, talent, treasure, something you can do to help the show. And everyone's an expert at something. So expert in weather balloons and bullshit, we got them. Expert jet fighters who fly, F-22s, F-16s, we got them. So you can put it all together. But when someone isn't supporting the show in any manner, usually their friends who have turned them on to the show, i.e. hit them in the mouth, they will call them out as a douchebag. Douchebag. And so you shame people into it. It works really well. It works, big mega churches will tell you you're going to go to hell. Here it's like, you're going to be called out as a douchebag. So, and it's just as bad probably. I don't know
and
which
then
one is
people
worse.
want to get de-douched.
Then they want to get de-douched, exactly.
You've been de-douched.
So then they donate and they say, hey, I need a de-douching. I got to get that nasty douche off of me. So, and we didn't come up with a word. We didn't come up with the jingles, the concept. It's all been the producers who are an active participant, which is a big part of today's media. It's an active medium. The people who are consuming it need to be a part of the production. And it's the same here. We have the chat room. We have the super chats where people are sending money. And I'm sure there's all kinds of other things that are going on that make this whole thing complete.
Yeah, for sure. And I think creating not only podcasting from the get-go the way you did, but then a way to add more and more and more interactivity. That's ultimately going to be the legacy here. It's that you didn't just have a cool idea once and a light bulb lit up, but you've managed to get that idea to the next level, and that's something very few people actually do. Starting a company because you were in the right place, and we've seen a lot of these companies that the size of Twitter that really got big, like Groupon or something, and then they kind of fizzle out. But what you're doing right now with Podcasting 2.0, I think is going to mean that podcasting in a lot of ways is no different than radio or television or any other medium that's been created. It's created and it's going to last forever. There will always be some version of podcasting. The name may change eventually at some point, but this concept of having a network that can distribute video or audio in a non-live manner, it's kind of batched up. I think it's going to be there forever, and you're ensuring that that's going to be the case.
Well, RSS is a big part of that. The beauty of podcasting is that the decentralization was really in the hosting companies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just so many of them, so you can't shut them all down, and it's easy to move from one to the next. The media files has become very interesting. No Agenda has a torrent RSS feed. We have an IPFS, which stands for Interplanetary File System feed. That shit will never go away.
Yep.
There's all these places. For me, the legacy is that there's going to be, when I die, maybe 10 or 20,000 hours of audio, and people will be able to find it and hear what I was thinking about. So part of it, I think the legacy more is the value for value concept and the hammering of that, and turning the idea that even the idea that you should make money with a blog or anything decentralized RSS related. That idea by itself is antiquated. Just because you're doing something and you have a community doesn't mean that money has to flow, but value needs to flow. And what I'm doing, I'm 58, my personal mission in this is most of the people I work with are millennials. They're a little on the higher side, like in the 30s, mid to late 30s. But even Alex Gates, who I guess technically he might be a Zoomer. I'm not sure.
He's right on the edge, I think.
He's on the cusp. This is a group that was very disillusioned and has every reason to be. And that's partially my generation's fault. So in the 80s and 90s, I mean, party time, baby. We were making money. We were doing all kinds of cool shit. MTV. School board, loser, couldn't get a better gig. City council, so that we didn't pay any attention to that. And then all this bullshit snuck in. And, these are people who were born in the 90s. And so we had, when they were 10 years old or just about middle school, we had 9/11, which is this huge psyop of information and shit that happened. Forget the event itself, but what came out of that. And then don't worry about it. It was traumatic for adults, people of all ages. But imagine being in middle school and just confused about it. Then don't worry, we're going to smoke them out. And we invaded the wrong country. It was very confusing. Then, as they're going into college, or basically coming out of college with a worthless piece of paper, with all kinds of nutty, over-socialized, under-informed education programs. We have the Great Recession. So, if you could get a job, first of all, you see everyone's houses are being taken away, and there's a lot of devastation. And then you come out and there's like $12 an hour jobs with a worthless piece of paper. Don't worry, we're going to fix the financial situation. No, we didn't. We just pushed that along until COVID, basically. So this is a group of people who are, in fact, politically agnostic or homeless, maybe a better way to say it, and are checking out of everything. They're checking out of the establishment, out of the institutions. And this is a great way to build new parallel networks. So one of those is the Beef Initiative. beefinitiative.com. And the whole idea there is you have to understand the direct producer to consumer relationship, rebuild that in a way that everyone understands value. What if I buy a steak at H-E-B at the supermarket, what is its value really? What is it? What am I getting? I don't even know what's in it. Go to the supermarket, it's like all pretty colors, and the same group of people is eating shit, and they're sick. We're a sick nation, sick world. We're just sick of eating chemicals and not actual animal protein. And there's no education about it on purpose, and that's only going to get worse. So Texas Slim came out of nowhere into my life, and he kind of is like me, saying, 55, same age, and he's I got to do something about this. And he figured out that he's a rancher. He understands the ranchers are commodity cowboys. They don't know how to sell direct to consumer. They don't understand how to do that, how to market stuff. But on the other side, you have Bitcoiners, and Bitcoiners understand value, and they're willing to learn. So he connected those two. And now we have this, he's in Australia right now rolling out, Beef Initiative Down Under or whatever. We're making this connection between people who are delivering the core product and people who value that and want to understand it and want to purchase that. And we're doing it in Bitcoin to protect ourselves from what's coming. The financial deplatforming is real. So we have to have, that as which I think is the only way. Maybe Monero, but Bitcoin is certainly has been around long enough. Has the marketing. There's enough. A large percentage of Americans have touched crypto in one way or the other. So let's just call that whatever it is. But Bitcoin is very suited for this, particularly with the Lightning Network. So schools. There's all kinds of new crowdfund, like Crowd Health is different ways of working together to ensure that you have some form of insurance for medical issues, where you chip in a couple $100 a month, and then if someone has, a heart attack or cancer or whatever, then you're asked to chip in some more. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And when, you have a reputation score based upon that, and people can look at that, it's all transparent. And if you have a problem, an issue that's above your means, then people will hopefully come in and help you. It's also very uniquely American in a way at this point, but I think it will spread. It will spread all over the world. And so while that is taking place, we're building these parallel networks. We need people to go into local politics and take back our city councils, our state houses. And we certainly need to stop focusing on who's the president or what's happening in Washington, because it just really isn't that interesting. on a grand scale of what you can actually do in your own city, your own township, your own county, or your own state.
So we're going to see Adam Curry running for mayor?
No. Fuck no. No. Fuck no.
Too busy.
No, it's not. That's not my mission. I mean, my mission is podcasting. My mission is is what I'm doing. I feel so comfortable. This is, even after our project, I had a long chat with myself. I was day trading, doing all kinds of stuff. And I said,
I remember that. Yeah.
I sold 65 Bitcoin at $900 each to day trade. What a fucking idiot. So that mistake was made, and I've learned from it. And I know my role. I'm a communicator. I'm a podcaster. I know what I want to do. I know what I like to do, and that's where I'm comfortable. And I love working with the millennials. I mean, it's a lot of fun. They're very smart. They're incredibly creative. They're open. They want to learn. They want to listen. And I probably learn more from them than they know. I mean, I'm in a good place. I really love it. We moved out of Austin. We're in Hill Country, where life is just a little different. Just a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah. Well, you moved out of California into actual Texas.
Yes. Well, as I say here, I had to leave Austin to re-enter the state of Texas.
Yeah.
That always gets a big laugh out here. People are like, oh, okay. All right, you're cool.
Yeah. Now, Austin is definitely not real Texas. And I mean, I've been in Austin now for 11 years, I think. And the change it's so huge. It's a completely different city. I barely recognize it just because the roads are the same. That's about it.
It's so funny because, it's funny, I don't know, interesting maybe. When I moved to Austin, which is now 13 years ago, probably like a year or two before you got there.
Yeah.
The old timers would say, that's not what it used to be. It's all fucked up with these new people. And now, I was there Monday. I was for a quick lunch with Max Kaiser and his wife. So we're just, I'll drive out to see them. And, it's good for me to get out, go back to Big Smoke from time to time. And I'm just driving there. Like, a lot of it's dirty. Like really dirty downtown. It didn't used to be that dirty. It's busy. I understand that, but it all kind of happened when they threw those scooters down in the streets, and the city council went, okay, that's kind of when it started to get overrun with just people are there not for Texas, not for Austin. They're there to make money and get laid and go to nice restaurants. And I'm generalizing.
Obviously. I mean, the bad stuff always kind of jumps out. And it becomes very evident. But yeah, Austin used to be, I always kind of described it as like hippies with guns. That was the Austin I moved to.
Cowboy hippies who would play golf and had guns. Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's also, it's a university town, and UT in Austin is very woke, very, very woke. So it attracts a lot of, it attracts what it wants to attract. Look at everything. But then I see what happened with Ice-Mageddon, where people's power, maybe just everyone's restored now after 10, 11 days.
Yeah.
And when I was there, how many times did I have to boil my water? Like, it seemed like every year there was a water boil.
Yeah.
And then, it wasn't the grid that went down. Texas's grid is actually unique and quite good. There she is. There's the keeper. Hi. What really? Come say hi, baby. Jean wants to see you. Oh, is he on? Yeah, we're doing the show live now. Here you go.
Hey, Jean.
Hey, how are you?
Long time no see. I forgot what you look like.
I know, it's been a while. I gotta get out there.
Promises.
Yeah, right. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, baby. Thanks. Oh, is Phoebe staying with me? All right, babe.
Phoebe's a dog.
Yes, quite the dog.
And I was there when you got that too.
110 pounds of fabulousness here. But it was really poor management of the vegetation. If you don't trim back the branches and the ice hits and the branches break and take down the wires, that's just, what are they doing with the money? It's not like cheap to live in Austin.
Right.
So it seems like a very typical liberal government, or and it's not even the mayor; it's the city manager. And I don't know, are people just stealing the money, not doing anything? Is it all going to consultants? Whatever it is, they're screwing it up, and that's kind of typical. And all of our institutions are bloated with middle management. Everything has to be reset. Everything, including our local governments.
Yeah. So you're much happier, obviously, in Fredericksburg in terms of the government.
Oh, our city council has to be attacked for sure. There's all kinds of problems going on here. There's a lot of people working on it too. A lot of people like, hey, we got to watch out for what's going on here. But we have our own well, so our water was fine. We have our own aerobic septic tank, so it's basically our own water processing plant. You could technically drink it, what comes out of it, but we use it for the lawn. We have electricity, but I have a generator, and I have yet to have that thing be useful. The power didn't go out.
Well, that's how it works, Adam.
You buy the generator, the power never goes out again. I know.
Well, you remember the big once in 100-year storm that we had when you were still living here?
Sure, of course.
Where my power was out for 7 days straight, and I had to just keep boiling water to heat the reptile room. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were really worried about that. I remember.
I know, man. That was
really scary. That was scary.
I had to do that every hour, so I slept in 20-minute increments, basically. But
how is Tigrit? Tigrit is good?
He's good. He's good. Yep.
Cool.
He's sleeping as usual. 90% of the time.
It's like a dog. It's no difference.
Yeah, except he'll sleep for 4 days straight without waking up.
Right. Well,
then he'll yawn.
Yeah. Like, I'm tired again.
Yeah. But so then after that, of course, I bought a generator because I want to be prepared for the next one. And this whole time, power went out for like 3 minutes.
I looked at the map because we didn't live that far from each other.
Yeah,
it didn't go down where didn't go down where we were. That was crazy.
Nope. And a lot of people, in surrounding areas were down for quite a few days. So it was
sure.
It was somewhat surprising because I assumed since it went down for so long last time, it's obviously a shitty area for power. And it turned out this time around, it actually did not go down. So
it was purely vegetation management. You have an HOA where you live, so
I think it was mostly me buying the generator. I think that's what changed.
I'm sorry, you're right. Once you have the generator, that's it. Mm-hmm. That fixes it. So you still live in this? I thought you were going to leave Austin.
I've been threatening to leave since before you left.
I know.
I am still threatening to leave, and I still want to move out. And I think my latest idea is I'll probably be actually closer to you guys, but I want to be far enough out where I can get at least 5 acres. And then I've never really thought about it, but I'm getting more and more into this idea. I want to get a double wide.
Sure.
I want to live in a trailer home. And
why not? It's effective.
The modern trailer homes, holy shit, dude! They're like the interiors look great.
My uncle, ex MIT, secret project NASA scientist, he lives in a double wide. He loves it.
Does he?
He loves it. Yeah. Oh, a lot of my friends live in double wides. You just gotta be careful because tornadoes they
do attract them.
They seek them out.
That is true.
It's like a big tornado magnet. Please, I want to be swept away.
Well, and that's the thing is it's got to be like. At least 5 acres, and then you got double wide, and then you got to have like the 3-room underground bunker. That's another thing.
Like Kid Rock. Kid Rock has that basically.
Does he? Oh, nice.
Yeah. He basically lives in a double wide. But the best thing, what people are doing now is you get your 5 acres, get a little more if you can, set up an RV park, and then live on your RV park, and you live for free. There's going to be so many people. I mean, the RV. Yep. Is just, around here, it's like the best business to invest in.
Trailer Park Boys has always been one of my favorite shows.
Great show.
So,
and it gets a bad rap. Trailer parks, does. There's great people, beautiful people who live in trailer parks. Absolutely.
And very creative people.
Everyone's so creative.
Yeah. Yes. That's the thing is I think just living more simply kind of forces you to think more like you did when you were young. Because it's so easy just to have the conveniences surrounding you where you're like nothing, there's no effort required for anything. Yeah, you need your food, they bring it to you. You need stuff, you buy on Amazon.
It's all going away, Gene. The free money ride is over. The DoorDashes, it's all going away. Everything's falling apart because the free money, the cheap money, the 0% interest rate is over. Now businesses and people have to stand by their on the value they create and the value they receive in return. So this is exactly what we're preparing for. We're preparing our communities for this. And with community, I mean, like podcasting is a community. Everyone needs to eat. I mean, I'm not going to eat the fucking bugs. I'm not going to eat the fake meat, but it's coming, brother. It's coming. They're going to price everyone out of the market. You're just going to have to take it or you won't eat. You won't be able to afford it unless you have a direct connection. And we're going to have to protect our ranchers too. And who knows how that'll go down, but I'm ready. I will protect my rancher. You better believe it. You
know, Ben on Just a Good Old Boys. So my plan is to have him. He's getting into ranching. He's buying cows.
I know. Yeah. It's cool.
And my plan is I told him, I got dibs on your first slaughtered cow. That's mine. So it's like, you got to know people that everybody can specialize in something a little different.
Yep.
But you got to have a community of people that can all help each other out because nobody else will.
That's the only way forward. Yeah. It is also uniquely the American way. Go read Little House on the Prairie, as hokey as that sounds. But Laura Ingalls, man, she wrote some amazing, it's like 9 books or whatever. It was way different back in the day, brother. And that's, a lot of bad shit happened and how the West was won, particularly if you were Native Indian American. You probably got fucked. But they also, that was more political than anything. Everyone was kind of getting along or figured out how to get along, or at least to protect themselves from whatever didn't work out well.
Yeah.
But the general idea, and this is also why I think as Americans got in trouble, because we're nice. We're just nice. We want to help each other out. And we don't want to, it's like it used to be we just disagree with each other. We wouldn't talk politics or religion. Now it's like that's all you're supposed to talk about, and that's how you're identified. And but I think the whole like LGBTQIAPK plus and Noodle Boy came about because, they can do whatever they want. I'm not too bothered by it. You just do what you want, and we're nice, and we don't make a big problem about it. And then this stuff got into schools and it got deep into our culture and into our children and our media and our corporations. And ultimately, the money is the problem, as it always is. The control of the dollar, the printing of the dollar is the problem.
Yeah, well, I think we have a lot of problems. That's one of them. But I think right now, I've never seen communism be talked about with more love and adoration in my life.
Yeah.
And I used to live in a communist country.
I lived in a socialist country. And, in socialism.
What I'm seeing here now in the U.S. is like a huge swath. I don't want to say it's the majority. It's certainly not, but it's a much bigger than I would have ever imagined swath of people that see socialism at the minimum and quite often communism as the salvation to the United States problems.
And that comes because of the free money, the money printing. If you have unemployment insurance and which is 3 months or whatever, but you are making the equivalent in Texas of almost $70,000 a year on your unemployment. That's where the problem comes from. It used to be a lot harder, a lot harder.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you had to figure out something to do, and that's why we saw 500,000 jobs added. Yeah, I know why, because people are like, fuck, I need a job. The free money is over. I need to get out there and work. Finally.
Yeah.
But the government, the money printers, they're going to keep finding ways to print it and get it to people and control them.
Yeah.
And, George Carlin was right. They just want obedient workers. Just enough to push the buttons and move the paper around. Yeah, that's not uniquely
American. That's always been the case pretty much since civilization. is you need people doing the work for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I help to destroy the traditional media or decentralized media, because that's where you will get, different opinions, different noise, different viewpoints.
Yeah.
The media in general as a category, M5M as we call it on No Agenda, it's a mind control mechanism. Everyone sees it. Well, not everyone. 60% sees it. 30%, is very aware and actively, going away from it.
Yeah.
But it's a giant mind control. Giant. It's, the COVID pandemic is the best example.
Oh, absolutely.
The best example since Weimar Republic and the rise of Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a benefit, and we saw this especially in certain liberal-run states for the government.
By the way, green stash. I know who prints the money. It's just easier to say it that way. Yeah, I'm not a person who thinks the government prints money. I know exactly how it works, bro.
It's the fun of interacting with the comments in real time.
That's what it's for, right? It's on my screen. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself right now. Well, send some money. Complain with a super chat.
He just gave you a little heart symbol back.
Super chats. No, we want a super chat. Come on.
Exactly. Send money. Not water or blankets, guys.
Don't send water or blankets. Just send us your cash.
Exactly. And since we're doing the podcast recording on the stream, there's virtually no grifting going on. But if you watch our normal streams that Fanga and I do, it is the little sort of rule of thumb / saying is that there are 10 minutes of grift for every 15 minutes of the show.
Now define grift.
Give us money. Give us super chat, subscribe. Here's some products that we're shilling that you can buy and give us money. We've got a whole slew of products. In fact, DeFango, if you're still near the computer, pop up the store with all the products.
All right.
There's a ton of products.
See if I can get something in your store, if there's anything I can sell.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of stuff. He's done a great job, and it's all him.
Darren O'Neill literally trolling you? He hates you that much?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Yeah, no.
What happened between you two guys? What the fuck?
Oh, we do a show
weird.
every week. No, we do a show every week, but it's a professional relationship. We just talk to each other while we're doing the show.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, yeah. I don't talk.
You know
to
how
Dvorak
that goes
either. Yeah, I'm no friend of Dvorak's. Duh. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly. And so there's the link if people want to go see it.
You guys crack me up. I love that.
It's fun. You gotta have a little bit of friction, otherwise no one's going to be entertained.
Otherwise, not interesting. Let me see, griftcast.com/merch. Why is that link not working?
So what that link here, I'll pop it up here.
Griftcast IRL. What is this?
So
Griftcast
that initially goes to the tree, IRL, which is a link tree, which has all the links for the show. Different ways to send money, a whole bunch of different ones. You love this. This is one of the products.
What's your URL? Griftcast?
It's just griftcast.com, yeah.
Griftcast.com.
Uh-huh.
Okay. No,
so
Griftcast. Oh, I see. I misspelled it. Duh.
Oh,
Griftcast.com.
So this is one of the products we're shilling that we get commission on.
Another. Wait until the link tree kicks you off. Why do you use all this centralized shit, brother? You're gonna get in trouble.
But I don't know.
It
it doesn't matter. It can change at a heartbeat's notice. It's we're not big enough to build our own stuff, Adam. For now, we're just using other people's stuff. Well, we'll get there.
That's why you need your producer.
But this is hilarious. This is a EMP shield.
Merch.
So we do quite a bit of grifting for this stuff. They provide
that you brought in from China.
No. That's a different thing. That thing I got to replenish. Those are sold out right now. The Grift Shield is a little device that you plug into your car, your vehicle, so that EMP going off doesn't actually disable your vehicle.
Is that for real?
Totally for real. Yeah.
I don't see it on the merch store.
It's not in the merch store. It's a link. Do you not see it on the screen? It's right, like the main screen, the show screen. I got right in front of you. Yeah, go back to the browser of the studio. It's right in front of you there.
In the private chat? No.
Well, above the private chat.
Griftcast IRL.com. That one? What am I looking at?
Do you see me? Do you see me anywhere?
I see you and a very tiny in the corner, yes?
Yeah.
I see you.
So the main page that you see is the product I'm talking about.
I want to get to that page. How do I get to that
page? Oh,
you
want to get to it. Yeah. If you go to just griftcast.com and then from there you'll see links to different stuff, and this is one of the products.
EMP shields.
EMP shields, exactly. It's just one of the products.
You could have said empshield.com. That would have helped.
Sure. Okay.
Oh,
we got Coffee Brand Coffee. Of course, we got DreamHost. Yeah. The goal of the show is to basically have get to a point where we do 14 minutes of Grift for 15 minutes of show. But we're not quite there yet. We're still just working on it.
So home generator protection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now how does
you
this
actually
work?
probably need one of these. Just make sure you use the code Griftcast.
Sure. Yeah. So how does this work? Doesn't that take out all the electronics? What will this do?
No. So this thing actually senses an EMP going off and will provide a ground loop. But it's not a constant ground loop. It's a ground loop that only gets established in case an EMP goes off.
Genius.
It's a great idea. I know.
This is something you would have come up with.
Government certified. It is exactly the kind of shit I would come up with.
Listed by the Department of Homeland Security with no link, mind you. Of course not. Fucking phony bullshit.
Yes.
How do you test it?
The best, and not only that, they have a $20,000 guarantee that it's going to work. So in case an EMP goes off and it does not work,
there's not going to be anything left for me to go get my money back.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Yeah. Okay.
But so we're shilling a whole bunch of different stuff, different products, and I've got.
That's a funny product. That's a very funny product.
It is a funny one.
It's a gag gift for you. Give that along with a
expensive
Bitcoin
gag
wallet.
gift.
Here's a Bitcoin wallet and an EMP shield. I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna get that for the former New York banker for the next birthday.
Yeah,
he'll need that.
He'll appreciate that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's fun doing it on the. Just kind of having fun while asking people for money, and amazingly, people, when they're laughing and having fun watching the show, are also happy to give money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
And now what we're doing right now, like I said, this is really just the podcast recording on the stream, not the typical normal stream show, which would be a lot more interactive. So I'm kind of ignoring the people on the stream right now for the most part. Normally, I would be doing a lot more interacting with them.
This reminds me of the old Dutch radio pirates. And when I'm talking radio pirates, I'm not talking about the radio pirate stuff that I was. We had our FM transmitters. We were playing import records. We were really against the establishment of radio. But the old guys, who still are around, they would be in what we call the Achterhoek, or the back corner of the Netherlands, farmer stuff. And they would put up huge AM, FM, all kinds of different broadcast stations. And they would just have the mic open, and they'd be taking phone calls while the record's playing. And then people are like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing. And they would and I'm talking 40 years ago, and it's still going on today. It is something about. It's the same thing. It's people being able to contribute to the product. It's such a simplistic form, and you're basically doing the exact same thing. You kind of look like them too. You need a hat.
Really? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Can I
share my
screen from this thing, or I can't?
Yeah. You can click on the little share screen button thing.
Let me see if I can find.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and if you're listening on the podcast, guys, the stream recording should be up.
You're screwed.
Why? What's going on?
If they're listening, they're not going to see what I'm going to show them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that we're recording it, so they will be able to go to griftcast.com, and then that'll take them to the YouTube link where you can see this particular episode.
I'm just doing some searches here. Let me see if I can.
In Dutch.
Yes, in Dutch.
Yes.
Let me see if I can find this. Now, how do I do? I don't know if my computer can handle all this at the same time. It
should be a little screen sharing button next to your camera button.
Okay. Oh, this is cool. Hold on. So let me.
Okay. And if it doesn't work, you can always paste the link into private chat, and I can pull it up.
Screen share. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Screen 1. Okay. Okay. Now about this. Nice.
So it's a YouTube video?
This is them.
Or what do you got?
This is them getting.
Here, paste the link in for me, because I'm getting a little crackling on your voice when the video's playing. And I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop this. Let me stop the. How do I stop?
Are you on Starlink or something, or what are you on?
I have Starlink. No. I'm just on a very, very small computer. Put that into YouTube.
Yeah, maybe it's the computer, not the connection.
Leave the. Hold on.
All right.
Let me wait. Let me retype that. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. This is all Dutch. That you should be able. Oh, I forgot the R, the A, and radio. Radio Piraat Achterhoek jaren 80. Radio Pirate, backwaters, 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on a B-Link, man. That's like $199 computer. It's amazing what they do. It's really amazing.
And then what do we want to look at? Videos or?
No, you want to paste that into YouTube. You don't want to paste that into just any old search.
Oh, okay.
I want to put that in. Oh, there you go. That Radio Ramona. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's just jingles. You don't want you want the guys doing it. You want to find. Let me be on the side there. One of those you can, like. Stay on the side. Yeah, that one. No, not that one.
Not that one.
Well, yeah, no. They'll show you some. Fast forward. They'll show you some of these guys. There you go. You go.
So now I have a photo of you.
There you go.
That isn't all that dissimilar from this.
But you got
wearing headphones.
See now they're getting. Somehow you've gotten into a bad algo loop. But anyway, there you go. And they just have. I mean, we did all this shit, but
they're moving all this stuff.
Yeah, they're taking it away. That's the.
Oh, they're taking it away.
Yeah. Seeing that, anyway, that's the idea.
Okay.
That, they're just in living rooms, and people would call in on the phone and just talk away. I mean, it's kind of the same. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed except.
Well, yeah. I mean, people still have the same interests in being able to communicate.
Yeah, definitely.
It's wild stuff. But you kind of got your start. Your interest, I should say, the start of your interest in Holland with was it your mom or your dad? Who gave you the radio?
No, my grandmother gave me the radio, but when I was 14, I built my first transmitter, and my mom drove me around the block to see how far the signal would go. And from there, I was like, and the kids were listening to it. They're like, "Hey, we heard you hear your broadcast." So I built a mixer. I got 2 turntables, cassette deck. I started to practice with my voice, and then it was a hospital, a closed circuit hospital radio station that was looking, and so that was legit. And they had really cool equipment, and it was professional studio. It was the audience was the hospital. It was the patients in the hospital. So I learned how to be I learned how to edit and how to do stuff and how to be a presenter as well. And I also learned a lot about patients and a lot about so what we would do the hospital radio station. There were 3 channels that people had a little ear, very like Soviet era. It was plugged into the wall, and you could little ear thing, and you could listen to the 3 Dutch official stations or Radio Tulip. That came from inside the hospital. And so we would go around when you had your show, you go around and you'd hand out request forms so people could request songs. And what we did is we went around and we went to all the young kids, and then we brought them, because the studio was in the corner of an auditorium, and so we could see the auditorium. We bring them down and we park all the kids with their beds right in front of the studio so they could see us. But they wanted to hear like Iggy Pop, Lust for Life, and they didn't want to hear the boring shit. And we would do bumper beds with them and stuff. I learned how to reinsert an IV in those days. Like kid's IV pops out. Oh, hold on, let's put that back in. So, but it was the interaction with the listeners that was so fun. I learned a lot about how powerful and on what deep level radio works with people, and then how you can really integrate the audience with it. Like top 40 radio remotes doing it from the front of Macy's. These are all things that people love. They like to be a part of it. They want to be at the party. They want to be where it's happening. They want to see what's going on, which is part of this incessant need to have video on podcasts, which I despise, as you know.
Yeah, I know you hate video. So this is a huge exception you're making.
It is. It detracts from everything. I don't like doing Joe Rogan video either. I hate it. I hate it. I really hate it.
But do you dislike it less when it's in person than when it's the camera, or does it not matter to you? It's like you just don't want the video there.
I just think audio is more interesting.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, why do you have to see me when I'm talking to Joe?
Right.
And I think a lot of people, they want to see it, but they're really listening to it. And, the YouTube app goes in the background, or the Spotify app, whatever, you're listening to. I think there's still a lot more listening, but there's all people want to see the pool boy, want to see what the studio looks like. And they still have their imagination. I like just taking it much further. This is my studio. I don't really want people seeing my studio. I want them to think about, make their own imaginary picture as to what my studio is, or what I'm wearing, or
But there is a No Agenda cartoon also that now you.
It's called Animated No Agenda.
Animated No Agenda, exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's Dame Jennifer's thinking of what our studios look like.
Who's a producer as well, and I love that she places you in this like really stereotypical movie type studio where records might be recorded.
Right, and then Dvorak always has a train outside his window.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that's what I like. That's
for all the foamers.
Yeah, that's her vision of what it is.
And it's super cute. I like stuff like that.
Them.
I like Freedom Tunes. I like all the cartoons that like adult cartoons.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, what people do. And when you say your listeners are producers, you're not kidding, because a huge swath of the listeners, I know I've used that word twice now, a lot of the listeners actually contribute, and not just financially to the show, because they do things like Dame Jennifer, doing the cartoon version, doing the animated stuff, tons of jingles. Like every show, you probably have like 4 or 5 new jingles.
Possibly, yeah.
There's a lot of them coming in, and you play them at the end of each show episode.
You mean? It's just, I don't know. There was a message came in. You mean the end of show mixes?
Yeah, the clips. They are kind of jingles, really, right? They're musical numbers. What do you want to call them?
Jingle is show mixes. That's what they're called. So, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Well, yeah, I mean, it's usually mixes of stuff that has been on our show in a previous episode, but sometimes they build an entire story around it. I mean, it's really, so here's Chinese balloons.
That's the moon.
So
what
a
the heck
classic,
is that?
Nana, 99 red balloons.
Chinese spy balloon the size of 3 school buses has penetrated U.S. airspace. Apparently, the spy balloon flew over Alaska and then entered U.S.
But it could be as simple as something like this. Here we go.
Wow.
Just a lot of wows, wow, or it could be
a lot of good John clips are always funny.
They're always funny, of course. Like State of the Union, so we'll get
nowhere. My fellow Americans, you came came together the past one in a generation.
This is the favorite from the past 2 episodes. Listen to this one.
To the hip hop, yo yo yo. To the hip, it's your boy Big Joe, America's pimp daddy in chief. I've been rolling in my drop top, smoking that perp, and spitting my favorite bars. I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. When a girl walks in, anybody
that's all AI
in your face, you get.
Are you kidding? That was totally real.
And realize
it's
there's
AI.
nothing left.
But he tweaked it with
auto-tune.
Yeah, auto-tune.
You can't touch this. That's right, playa. This jive turkey got game. And you can bump these beats too when you buy my knockin'.
Now, we get away with the licensing because we play it in context of the show, and that falls under fair use, which is why we also don't ever publish them because, by itself, it's a complete violation.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a ton of creative work, though, that people send you that is tied to the show one way or another.
So here's an example. This will pertain to you.
If you're blue and you don't know where there's fake news, why don't you get your Gitmo fix? Putin on the Ritz.
Putin on the Ritz.
Mm-hmm.
Dressed up like a million.
Or we have...
Donald loves Nazis. Donald loves Nazis. CNN say that he's KKK, and he shouts and Sig Heil with it. Wow.
And then an often requested by our Jewish producers. For the shape-shifting Jews, so we can make fun. Everyone can make fun of themselves. It's a hoot.
Yeah, and it's all stuff that people send your way, and in hopes of being played on the show.
Yeah, most of the time we will.
But
there's very little reason.
Some of these are a huge amount of work. Like people spend hours and hours putting something together. It's 30 seconds or less.
Well, show people noagendaartgenerator.com.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably even more impressive. So
that's a very good point. Let me pull that up.
We change our album art for the podcast with every show. And the artists, some of them are, I saw Roundy in the chat earlier. They're real professional artists, but also non-professionals.
Is it .com or?
.com. Noagendaartgenerator.com.
Oh, generation.
Generator.
Yes, that would be better if I learned how to spell.
And we can choose from, we can easily go to submissions at the top. We can easily choose from 10, 20 pieces every single show.
So people send, so these are all created.
They're making it while we do the show.
Yep,
they're making
in real
these,
time.
Yeah. In real time.
And so these are all original art. I mean, some of them use elements, obviously, that aren't,
They license. These are pros, man. They license that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If they have it, they license it.
And there are 481 pages of these things.
20,000 pieces of art.
And when did you start doing these? Do you remember how far back?
Oh, we didn't start anything.
Well,
someone started.
Fair
this,
enough.
and
sending stuff.
Someone started it like maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and then that kind of shit the bed. And then Sir Paul Couture came in and he set this up. It was originally on Headless Drupal. Which didn't, then we ran all kinds of scaling problems, and then they fixed it, and he built a new version. And
so you have some Valentine's Day submissions here.
Of course.
Yeah. So literally for every show you do, by the time you're ready to upload the episode, which you do very quickly after the end of the live recording,
because we record live, there's nothing to edit.
Yeah, you don't do post. It's because direct to tape.
Direct to tape, and we have our sound, we have our processing, everything's good. The only thing, there could be a technical issue that took us off air or whatever.
Sure.
I'll splice that together. Probably spend more time looking for the opening. We will always play a little snippet from the show right at the opening, and then we go into our opening sequence. So we find that I put that at the beginning, put the show notes in, which are. It's another fantastic system that I have for that. All of this is people just have done it. Our website, noagendashow.net. No Agenda Meetups is another fantastic thing. NoAgendaMeetups.com. People just meet up all over the world, and they can schedule it on their own, on NoAgendaMeetups.com. And we promote it, and then if they send in a report, we'll play the report.
Yeah,
sometimes funny.
You will mention when meetups are happening, but then you also play audio clips that people recorded at the meetup. So these are upcoming meetups in different locations.
Here's a report, Valentine's Day meetup.
Hey, this is Baron Scott of the No Agenda Armory.
And Keeper Christine.
Happy Valentine's Day in the morning.
This is Malik, and I'm at my first meetup, and I'm ready for my boot.
Now, there's also, like this one, this was one that didn't work. This is Sir Jake, who was in Guam. He's a submariner.
Mm-hmm. This is Sir Jake, coming to you from Guam in the famous Horse and Cow Bar and Grill. I'm here surrounded by lots of awesome submarine memorabilia and pictures of John and Adam, but that's about it. Nobody else was able to show up, but I had a good time, ate a steak.
Or here's Reykjavik.
In the morning, John and Adam, Sir Stormshade, Night Champion of the Frozen Wastes here for a post-meetup report from downtown Reykjavik.
Yeah, so it's everywhere, all over the world. And, we'll play these. We get maybe 2 or 3 per show. They're under a minute, and people love hearing them. Basically, as you go around the room, everyone says their name or their handle, whatever, and just say hi. And, people love that. And that's part of the whole system.
Yeah. And
again, we didn't invent this.
Right. So all these things, from the software that these websites are running on, to the maintenance of the websites, to the data in them, to the images, everything else is put together by the producers.
Yes.
Who really are producers. And then because people, I think initially, if they haven't listened to the show, they think, well, so you just call your listeners producers because everyone's got some little pet name for their listeners. In this case, there's a huge amount of people that both listen and do things that are used by the show.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd hate
and by
that.
other listeners.
5x5. Yeah, 5x5. See, Roger Rowney posted in the chat, NA Art Generator reminds me of the brainstorming session for advertising pitch meetings. It's even better than that, because we also, when we thank people during the show, we critique the art that we didn't choose. Here's why you didn't choose your piece, which no artist ever gets to hear that. No, it's educational. They like it. They like hearing why we didn't pick their piece.
I like that one.
And that's it's a beautiful piece. But there were other good ones.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the quality of art that you guys are getting for free every episode is amazing.
It's not free.
It's
we
commercial
give tremendous
stuff.
Value to these people.
Yes, I know. But, you otherwise may have had to both provide a tremendous value and pay for the art.
It would never happen. And
most podcasts don't change their image every episode. In fact, I don't know of a single one that does. Outside of No Agenda.
Couple. Korean the Keeper does now. We do that.
Okay.
But we have a similar theme. It's always 2 glasses of wine. Because the show started as us drinking.
Right.
Wine.
Yeah.
So that's just, you can go to gitmolist.com, I think. Let me see. Is that it? Gitmolist. I think it's .com. Oh, no. Oops, didn't want to do that in our browser window. That would suck. Gitmo list. Let's do a search.
Mm-hmm.
Gitmolist.org, sorry.
Org, okay.
And that's a pretty good list of stuff that we have there.
Different resources.
No Agenda, No Agenda Entertainment, Experience, Jingles, Jitsi Room, Meetups, Newsletter, novels, Peerage Map, Player. There's all kinds of stuff in there. All kinds of stuff. And NoAgendaBooks.com and anything we've discussed. It's great. It's a wonderful community. And by the way, anywhere in the world, no matter what happens, one tweet and I'll be saved.
Yeah.
Whatever's going. And when we had Snowmageddon, we had people in Austin helping other people out. This guy's stuck in a hotel, no power. He needs a sandwich. And people getting him something to eat, and because we could still communicate. So connection is protection, brother. That's what you got to have. Be part of the community.
Absolutely. Well, and the novels, I think it's fascinating too. Now, I haven't read any of these, but I've heard, as you've mentioned, as the different books have come out. But there are multiple books around the No Agenda universe.
Yeah, themes. This guy's written 3 or 4, I think, and he's just a quote unquote amateur writer. His books are quite good. Scott, I think it is.
Scott McKenzie.
Scott McKenzie. And he'll send us a copy, and it's always fun. You read it. It's show related. It has a lot of show related terms in there. It's hilarious.
Yeah. No, you've encouraged that kind of stuff, and I think people have really kind of opened up and let their creativity shine as a result of that, which, again, I think a lot of people just kind of assume, well, I want fans that will listen to the ads that I play and buy those products so that I can make more money off the ads. And that's the extent of that loop. With No Agenda, you guys have no ads, but you've got this huge, tremendous network that's been created by people that are fans, people that are listening, and in fact become producers. And you totally you're not just not opposed to it, you greatly welcome it with open arms.
Yes, and if I can be honest, John and I are also lazy. We don't want to do any of this shit. And we'll say that we're lazy. We're not going to do art. That's not what we do. We do the show. If you want this, we started with 1 show a week, and then people started producing so much, and we said, hey, you want 2 shows? Well, we need a lot more art. We need more money. We need all these different things. And then people stepped up, and we even tinkered with 3 shows. I think we did 3 shows a week for a while, but then the quality went down. We said, no, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, well, I think it ended up, I remember John saying it was just, the work's not worth the pay. So 3 shows a week is
it wouldn't surprise me if he said that.
It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work for 2 shows.
It's a lifestyle. It's not work. It's a lifestyle. I mean, I'm always reading. My best sources are what comes in through email. I have a lot of filtering and triaging for email. That's my best source. That's where the stuff comes in. I mean, like Ohio Train, we got people who live there. We got farmers who are in the neighborhood. They're giving us very different reports than what's happening in the media.
Well, and even on the recent thing that I recall here, the controversy that's around.
Thank you for saying controversy. That's the only way to pronounce it.
The Project Veritas. Everybody's just saying there's no info. There's no info. No one knows anything. But No Agenda has info.
The executive director is literally a No Agenda baron.
Yeah.
Daniel Strack, literally.
Executive director of Project Veritas.
Yes, of both the 501c3 and the 501c4, which I incorrectly made some assumptions, and he immediately, and I said, and we even said, well, we hope Strack checks in, and he did. He gave us more information than anybody has in 1 email.
Yeah, and that was not unique. There have been many instances where people chime in from places that you don't necessarily expect them to be.
We're everywhere.
Yeah. And you've got Hollywood producers, you've got all kinds of.
You'll even DM me during a show live.
Well, I do that all the time.
No, it's like this, it's like that. Like, cool, that's.
Yes.
I mean, you have a direct line to me. Most people don't.
Yeah.
But that's how it works.
Yeah, and it does work because now you've been doing it for over 14 years and
15 years.
Yeah, and it's. And that's not even your first podcast. I mean, that's the thing. It's the cool thing about being the guy at the very origin of podcasting is that your second podcast is probably longer than 99.99% of podcasts that are in existence.
Yeah. The No Agenda show came about really out of my own disillusionment with what I was doing. I mean, we started Pod Show. And what it resulted in is what it always results in is we had to produce content as cheaply as possible, arbitrage it, against whatever audience acquisition we could do. Make no mistake, that's how it works. Google spends $12 billion a quarter on TAC, traffic acquisition costs. So they're buying people to come and please look at our ads, basically. And then once you had done that, it was like building a NASCAR out of, spare parts. Tuning it to make a great show, a great NASCAR, and then you had to put advertising stickers all over the windshield so you couldn't see where you're driving. I'm like, fuck this. I left my own company for this very reason. No, this is not what I want to do. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, and I recently re-listened to, I think, your third episode of No Agenda. First of all, it was 40 minutes long.
That long? I thought they were like 20, 25 or 30 in the video. We said no jingles, no nothing, no bullshit, no agenda.
Yeah,
and now we're 3 hours, jingles, all kinds but no ads. We never went to the ads.
No. And it really is the way that, I mean, if I can compare my podcast a little bit to yours, it's the way that I started all of mine. It's just from, I was talking on the phone to people, and after talking on the phone, saying, we should record this. Let's just record this, because your first podcast with John, very much in that vein. It's like, I went to a great restaurant, had this bottle of wine, the view out of my window is this abomination being built across the street.
But I think what happened with you is the same that happened with us. Is the feedback you get from people starts to drive what you talk about.
Yeah.
And then they, you're probably doing a lot more interactive with the chat while you're doing it. And we have the troll room, which is our version of the chat room, which you wouldn't know that because Darren kicked you out.
Because I've been banned. Yes, I'm perma-banned out of the No Agenda chat.
And
for years now.
I treat the trolls in the same way, a bunch of assholes. I mean, totally. They're trolls, they're fuckwads. But we love them, and especially if they don't, like, come on, troll room, look this up, give me the answer, and if they fail, then we scream and yell at them. And they're trolling me, they're trolling each other, but it does help. I mean, I get a lot of good one-liners from the troll room, like really, really funny stuff. And I'll use that all the time without attribution. Fuck them, they're trolls.
Troll count.
15, 20. See, there they go, scurrying away. Little trolls scurrying under bridges and trying to hide from me. I see you, trolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it does work out great. And it is I think, a high bar in the sense that it uses ancient technology. And then people have to make an effort to get into the troll room. It's not just click a button and, that's already built into a platform or something.
Shit hasn't changed in 15 years since 14 since Void Zero put that up.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, exactly.
That's nothing. We pay, I think, $500 a month for our bandwidth. Void Zero has just always, Mark up in Groningen in the Netherlands, he's always just set it up to help us. It's his value, and he's a friend now. He's a good friend now, but
he's a great guy. I remember
been doing that just to keep it running, keep everything running. That's his value that he delivers back.
Yeah, and he's
super.
I mean, it's like longer than most employees have been around. It's amazing.
We couldn't even afford him if we had to hire him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like podcasting 2.0. The people that the group of developers, if you could hire them, if you couldn't afford it, the payroll would be astronomical.
Yeah.
And they're more honest with each other than if they were at a company.
They're
much more honest. Like, this sucks. I hate this. I love this. They support each other, but they're also very just honest, brutally honest. And that's the only way to go.
Well, and
you don't get that in a company.
You don't. And I think my contribution to that's now fairly enshrined for podcasting 2.0 is that all these apps now have a 30 seconds forward, 15 seconds back in their forward and back buttons. Because I talked to every single developer back a year ago, and I said, I love your app, but here's the thing. Wouldn't it be great if it could do this, which I like in somebody else's app? And I swear to God, I think all the apps I've looked at now, they've all implemented that kind of control, which is awesome.
Well, your contribution was actually bigger than that, and I also want to mention
your
agenda contribution.
But go ahead.
No, don't be modest, because I'm going to give it to you. First of all, and I say this with respect, we have, and we still use it, the Gene's mom. It's like, my mom won't understand this. Now, your mom passed.
Yeah.
But for a while, it was like, but will Gene's mom be able to use it? That we use that over and over and over again. So Gene's mom is still part of the legacy. The other piece of No Agenda, the value for value model, is very important that people know. So we had, we had already instilled the executive producer, associate executive producer level for each show. So if it's $200, between $200 and $300, you're an associate executive producer. It's a real credit. Go look on IMDb. People register these credits there, even Hollywood people who listen to the show. Executive producers, $300 or above. If in total, over the lifetime of your contributions, which can also be $5 a month or a week or whatever, when you get to $1,000, you become a knight. And we made that up, and we have a knighting ceremony, and it's the whole, and we send you a ring, a knight ring. And it was in Austin. I remember it very well. We were still on, Travis Heights Boulevard.
Yep.
And we sitting in that corner. We had the bookcase, and you said, man, it's time to gamify this shit. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm a knight. I've contributed $1,000. What do I do now? I have no aspiration. There's nothing I can do. Where can I go from here?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we implemented the peerage system. So you go from a knight to a baronet to a baron. So every $1,000 extra that you accumulate all the way up to Grand Duke. And that really accelerated the gamification factor that you advised and gave us was game changing. Literally, that really changed the whole deal. Because it turns out people love this. They love parting with their money for something that they enjoy. And if they have aspiration and we're very open about, you can sit there and count and you know exactly how much money we made in each episode. No one cares. No one gives a shit. They're all happy. They think it's worth the value. So now we have a number of Grand Dukes who have, really have supported the show over years with a lot of money. And that's because of your genius in that. And I'm John won't say it, but I'm very appreciative.
Well, thank you.
John will say he did it.
Yes.
No, that was all you. And that was a great idea. And, I've heard this replicated throughout so many shows that use value for value.
I gave the same thing to Brian Brushwood too, and he's done quite well with it as well.
Same thing with Brushwood. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Do you ever hear from him anymore?
Yeah, occasionally. I think I saw him. I was at his studio / farm, I guess about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was like, we got to get you on again, and then I don't hear from him again. I got to bug him again. I think Brian is always one of those guys that's always had like 20 different pokers in the fire. And if you're not actively on top of doing something with them, there's 5 other people that actually are or trying to.
And I don't know. I don't see much of his stuff anymore. I don't know. He must be doing TV stuff. Must be doing TV stuff.
Well, it's all. I don't think it's TV, but it's always had multiple YouTubes. I know he redid like back when we got together, and I think this is, fairly publicly known. But he definitely redid his company. Like he cleaned it out. Got rid of some people that were not necessarily the best fit, brought in some new folks. So he's reinvigorated.
So good.
Yeah.
I always liked him. I like Bonnie too. How's Bonnie?
Yeah. No, she's good. Yeah. That's
kind of the hard thing.
What you really notice is how the kids are like growing crazy fast.
Their kids. Oh yeah. They must be driving by now.
Yeah. How old is she? I don't remember how old they're.
So crazy, man.
The youngest daughter, I think she's around 9 or 10 years old. And the way that Brian and I met was I was the biggest donor to his Kickstarter, where the top donor level was getting to name his kid because she wasn't born yet.
And that's how Shithead came to be.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was like, there's no way in hell his wife's going to let him do this. He's just coming up with, now, what do I do if people give this much money? He just came up with a crazy level that he didn't think anybody would donate.
And that was it.
Yeah. And then we talked, and he's like, then he's getting nervous. He's starting to back off. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to make you rename your kid. Don't worry. I want a command performance though. I want you to perform at my venue of choice.
Oh, right. I remember this vaguely.
Yeah, and the irony is I missed the damn performance because I had set it up, and I was working in California at the time, so I set it up in San Diego.
I remember that too. Yep.
I can't remember what the reason was. I think I got gout. I think I had gout. That's what it was. Because I have had a number of gout inflammations. People don't know it's where your foot just feels
gout
horrible.
Is the worst.
Haven't had it that was the last time I had it, in fact. So I haven't had it for like a decade. And because I figured out what it was. I've always loved eating like sardines and liver and like stuff that's, like pickled organ meats.
Russian shit.
Pickled organ meats, basically.
Yeah, Russian shit. Just say it.
Apparently, if you read the literature, that's the stuff that quite frequently causes a gout outbreak.
Causes gout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's inflammation. It sucks. It's
it's basically what it is just uric acid crystallizes in your blood, and your blood moves slowest through your feet, And so the crystals just kind of start to accumulate.
You need to walk, brother. I keep telling you that you need to walk.
I do walk.
45 minutes a day, every day, walk. 45 minutes
about
a day,
3
drink
days
a
a
gallon
week,
of water.
Yeah, I do and definitely drink a gallon of water. Water is always good. I've always been a big fan of water.
I love your Russian Eurotrash tracksuit, by the way. That's pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I've got one for every day now. That's the whole look on the show.
Good. Yeah, that's it. The look is good. I like your dresses. Was it your kaftan? What is that?
Which one?
You had a dress at one point, like a kaftan.
A dress.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of different outfits. I don't recall a dress.
Not a dress, but like a Middle Eastern type garb.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would occasionally.
Those look cool. Those look cool on you.
Well, beards go well with a lot of different types of clothes.
Okay.
For sure.
It's the beard. I got it.
But the beard makes the outfit. I'm telling you right now. Yeah, somebody says I need portrait mode. I do, because my beard is, it's longer than.
Is it down to your crotch now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You go out to eat with Gene, and he has to stick this whole beard inside, and that
the beard tuck
around it.
Yes.
Yeah, a beard tuck. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It is. It's a thing. It's a real deal. Plus, I at where my beard's at, I can sort of call virtually anybody else's beard a starter beard. Yeah. You get these guys that have, a good beard, and it's like, hey, nice starter beard, and they kind of look at me like, what? And then they see me, and they're like, oh, yeah, thanks.
Pull the whole thing out, yeah.
The only time I felt slightly inadequate with my beard was when I went to the World Beard Competition back about 5 years ago.
I remember you went to that.
Yeah, and I took a lot of photos there. It was like, holy shit, I have barely a beard.
Not anywhere near competition level.
Nowhere. I mean, there was guys with beards literally to their knees.
Yeah.
There were people that had styled beards that had like a whole scenes from Star Wars made out of their beards. I mean, it's just like, holy shit. People doing insane stuff. So yeah, I just, like you mentioned, you were lazy for certain things. The beard to me, I started growing it when I got divorced. That was to me just a way of doing less work in the morning by not shaving. The difference was while I was married, I would do that, but then I would still shave maybe like every 2 weeks. So I had like that little short cropped kind of thing going, or goatee or whatever. But when that became not an issue, I just let it grow. And it turned out that once it gets past about 6 inches, once it looks like a long beard,
beard. Yeah, okay.
A lot of people actually give me compliments. So it's like, oh, that's awesome. I've gotten a lot more compliments with the beard just from random strangers than I ever had when I didn't have a beard.
Well, now.
Yeah. And black girls like beards a lot.
Welcome to Beard Talk.
Mm-hmm. Beard Talk with Gene and Adam. Have you thought about growing a beard out, Adam?
I started a beard for a little bit there, but it's not for me. It doesn't grow fast enough. No, it's not for me.
It takes a while.
I also still wet shave. I use a razor.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, it's part of. I like it. I like shaving every day.
You like the
doesn't
the
bother
feeling.
me.
I will say
I
do like the feeling that I haven't experienced for a long time of having a freshly shaved, especially at a barbershop with a straight edge and the hot towel. That is a great feeling. The only time I get that is I get that on my head. Occasionally I will go to a barber and I'll do I'll have them do a head shave with a straight edge. And then so I still get that experience without sacrificing the beard.
Yeah, this is where we differ in so many ways.
Yes. So your hair was always a big part of your image in the early part of your life, for sure.
Of course, yeah. But it was applicable. It was appropriate. Everyone had that hair.
Not everyone had the hair you had. I think maybe people tried.
No, that's true.
They did not succeed.
That's true. My hair was a thing of its own. Had its own life. Had its own its own place in heaven.
And I'm going to assume everybody knows you were an MTV VJ back when they played music, but the one or two people that don't, you can look up Adam Curry and you'll find some of the images back from those days. And he had magnificent mane of hair. It was lion-esque, I would say.
It was funny. I just I got an email from you probably won't remember, Lillian Axe, if you remember that band. It was on Headbangers Ball. So I debuted their first video ever. On Headbangers Ball in 1988. Those guys are still going strong. They look a bit like you. with only black beards, and they're definitely metal. Yeah, rock / metal, but heavy screaming guitars and stuff. And so they just released their 10th studio album, and they have a video. It's called "Feelings of Absinthe," and it's a good song. These guys are still, and they're they're in the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame. They've been very successful.
Okay,
and they reached out and said, "Hey, man, would you mind doing the intro to our video?" And refer back to the first time in '88. And I had a blast doing it, so that video's coming out pretty soon. So it's me literally like, hey, remember back in 35 years ago, these guys, they're still here, intro the video. And
that's wild.
Tina was doing the camera for me. And she's like, holy shit, you can just turn the button on and do it. I said, yeah, I can turn the MTV guy thing on and do an intro at any point. You can wake me up in the middle of the night. I can still do it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And that was certainly my first exposure to you, is watching MTV. And although I was never much of a metalhead, but you were on there quite a bit. So
yeah, well, I did other shows. I did shows besides Headbangers Ball, but I loved Headbangers Ball. It was fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
And
yes, Pyramid 7, Lillian Axe. That's correct.
The band name, yeah. Yeah, they're here. I'll just flip them. I did a quick search for them here as well.
No, you won't find the new one. I don't think that's been released yet.
No, it's not. I did, but that's the band, right? Those guys.
Yeah. Yep. Lillian Axe.
Yeah. No, it's fun reminiscing, but the stuff you're doing right now, I think, is the most exciting out of everything.
It is to me. I mean, it's just another new period. I've done crazy things in my life. I took a company public, ran it for a while. I've had incredible experiences. Really happy.
And when you say you took a company public, you had a company with 1,000 employees. This is a real
700. Yeah.
All right, close enough.
It was big. It was big.
It was a real company. Yeah, it wasn't. It was not a
And it was pre.com. Which means we didn't raise $1 billion, but we were on NASDAQ. Think New Ideas. We ran it profitable.
Shocker. That doesn't happen much these days.
I know. How crazy were we? And then Mark Cuban walked away with fucking broadcast.com for $2 billion. So that's
still living on that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was very wealthy at one point through some stock investments, and that went to zero. And the money I had, I just spent it all. I spent it on helicopters and castles and cosmetics companies and all kinds of interesting, fun stuff. But I've never worried about money. It's like, okay, if I have it, I have it. If not, and whenever I need something, it always shows up. So.
I love that. I remember I was talking to Christina when she was here, and
my daughter.
Your daughter, yeah. When she was talking about the castle days and writing a what are those things called? The little
tractor?
No. The little thing you step on and you zoom around.
The Zappy? The Segway.
Segway, that's the
we needed to get from the kitchen to the living room. We needed the Segway. It was
so
too
insane.
far to walk. We had to call each other on the phone. Where are you?
Riding a Segway inside your castle because it's too far to walk.
Hilarious. That was fun. That was fun. Good times.
Yeah,
good times, man.
And that's the thing is, I have not done that, but I've done a lot of interesting stuff in my life, and it's always fun to do crazy things like that, but not let them define you.
At all.
Like, you're not the guy that has to ride a Segway across the kitchen anymore.
No, I don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about anything.
No.
I love my wife. I love our daughters. I have 2 stepdaughters. I love our dog. I love our friends. I love what I do. We're healthy. We have great community out here. I love God. That helps.
Yeah. That's a new thing. Well, I mean, I don't want to insinuate that you hated God in the past. But
no, it's new
certainly
for me. It's
a new topic that I've heard in your life. So you want to talk about that a little bit? What happened?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I can tell you what happened. I mean, I'm new to this, so it is all very new. Well, it's interesting because Tina and I both came to this at the same time from different directions. She was raised Catholic, which I don't think she was really ever in her veins or anything. But I woke up one day and I look around me, and everyone I'm working with is a Christian. Dave Jones from Podcasting 2.0, Mo, Texas Slim, and I started saying, well, wow. And I could, from time to time, it's like, so do you think with Revelation, like, we'll really go into hell and fire and brimstone? And, I could ask these things. And these guys, they never pushed anything on me. It was never a big deal. And, Mo would say, oh, yeah, I pray before we do the show. So that's interesting. You see, I pray we have a good show. And I decided about 11 months ago, maybe, I'm going to look into this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, because I've 9/11 conspiracies, JFK. I'm the conspiracy therapist. Moon landing. I look into all this stuff, and I read a lot, and I love it. And I come up with my own thoughts about stuff, and I share them on the show. And I thought, well, this is a conspiracy theory I've never really looked at. Is this thing real? Is God real? Was Jesus real? Is he? Was he? Is he? Actually, Tina and I were talking about that on our show. Mm-hmm. Korean the Keeper, KoreanTheKeeper.com. And so people start sending me stuff, and there's tons of books, and one of them is Evidence That Demands a Verdict, which is it's not really a book. It's like an outline of all these things that prove that Christ was real, and and I just looked at it purely from my conspiracy-minded way. Mm-hmm. It's like, I've read everything there is to read about. I'm a member of Pilots for 9/11 Truth. I know I'm a pilot, so I understand a lot of these things. And, there's a lot of different stuff that just doesn't make sense. And at a certain point, you get to the part, well, you have to believe something or not. You weren't there. So like the moon landing, well, I was not there, but there's no evidence. The worst part of the moon landing is that they erased the tapes of the moon landing. It's like, okay, so that kind of tells you something, right? But then you look at what's been written about
no
Christ.
one's ever going to want to watch that again. Who cares?
Exactly. Who cares? Just bulk it. And you start reading about Christ, and, still the number one book is the Bible. And after 3 weeks, I'm like, well, this is obvious. By my standards of conspiracy theorist research, this is real. And so then I decided to commit to it and see how that felt. And mm-hmm. we have a church here that Tina had attended a couple times on Sunday, so I can't go, but they have a YouTube live. And it's a great show. It's like, and I even told the Pastor Jimmy, I said, man, you got a great ass show. And he plays guitar as well in the worship team, which is Christian for band for some mm-hmm. reason. It's not a band, it's the worship team. And they got like 8-man band, 3 singers, it's pretty decent. Sound is good, and he relates the gospel to the message. And I'm like, this is pretty interesting. And then something really cool happened. There was a guy in my life, Neil Jones. He's still in my life. And he had, about 2 years ago, he started sending clips as a producer to the show. And he lives in Alabama, and he was a custodian at a school. And he says, you and John motivated me so much, I decided I'm going to quit my job as a custodian, and I'm still going to do your clips. And he does great clips. They're the
clip right custodian.
Clip custodian. He has the right clips. They're labeled right. They're the right length. He gets it. He gets it. And he would send, like he still does, 12, 15 clips a show. I don't play them all, but they're all playable. And he's a Christian. And I don't know if we were talking, if we really just, he would say God bless or whatever on email. Never talked. And then one day, he says, Adam, I'm destroyed here. My son has leukemia, just all of a sudden, out of the blue, his 8-year-old son. And I started praying for his son. And he was like, Job, the apostles sat with Job. I said, Brother Neil, I'm going to sit with you. I'll be here. I can't do much but pray, and I'll be here for you when you're down or whatever I can do, but I'm going to pray. And in under a year, that boy is completely cancer-free. I'm not saying that God does this all the time, or that's how it works, or that our prayer necessarily. To me personally, that was God said, "Oh, hold my beer. Let me just show you, Curry." Mm-hmm. I needed that. I needed to see that. I needed to have that experience, and it could come back. Anything could happen, but that really took me to a level of wow. And then I read the Bible, and I have a great study Bible. I read explanations, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and it's really interesting and incredibly fun to read. And it's like having a 10-speed bike. A lot of people have 10-speed bikes all of a sudden. So a lot of these, oh wait, you're a Christian? Oh, I didn't know that. And it's just it's like an interesting club that seems to be pretty big worldwide. And what was really beautiful, and I think maybe this is part of this is why I say podcasting. The first podcasters who really piled on were Godcasters. They were the first ones to really get it. Oh man, I can't afford the cable TV channel or the satellite, but I can spread the message the way I want to through podcasting. Not saying that podcasting was only meant for religious stuff. There's kind of another sub theme that was a thread that was running along here is Naomi Wolf. Who we've played clips from throughout the history of the show. She's super lefty, Jewish, Upper East Side, New York, elite. And during the COVID scamdemic, she was sitting at one of those, hedge fund manager dinners, Upper East Side, and she heard these people talking with saying horrible things about people and economy. And she said, I know these people. They're not bad people. It must be evil. It must be evil that's taken hold of them. And I agree. If there's evil, there has to be balance. There has to be a good. And what is that good? And she literally became what we call the Messianic Jew. She started to pray. She's become a Christian, which is really interesting if you're Jewish. It has a whole nother level of family and stuff that you have to kind of break through. And so it has really enriched my life, and I feel super happy. Not like all of a sudden you pray or you believe in Jesus and then your life is great, but it does give you a perspective on things. And historically, it's really interesting to see how nothing is new. Nothing is new at all, and so. It's just been great, and I'm learning is new. And so I went on Rogan, and I knew that I was going to talk about it because I knew that was in me. I was going to mention this to him, and I told a shorter version of this story. And I also knew that Joe would treat me respectfully, and he would question me, and I kind of look forward to it. I wanted, what is he going to ask me, And I also said at one point, I don't know, man. I don't have an answer to that because I'm new to this, but I can feel there's something in it. And the response to that has been nothing short of amazing. This entire YouTube videos with thousands of comments and pastors dissecting me saying this. I'm like, so now I realize that people who are Christian, who believe in God, and maybe it goes for all religions, it's not cool to talk about it because, by the way, you can shit on Christians anytime you want. You can't do it to Muslims, not for Islam or not for Jews, but you can shit on the Christians. And I think that because I don't have any of that weight on me, and I'm already in a happy, good place. I have had a good life, and I look forward to another, at least 40 years. That people really took that to heart. It's like, wow, if this guy can say it, then why can't I say it? And it doesn't mean that you're a nut job or that you're a right wing, hate LGBT and anti-abortionist, all these labels that are put on us, and so it's just an outpouring of that's just mind blowing that people that pastors, scholars are dissecting the conversation Joe and I had, and people are like, oh, I'm so happy. This is so cool that he said this. Also, I've been praying for you for 10 years that you would be saved. Like, what? I had no idea. So, that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm not preachy or anything. That's the last thing I want to be. But if people ask me, just like my friends who answer my questions, I'm happy to answer what I can. And so it's been great. That's cool. It's been really fun.
What was your family religiously when you were a kid?
Well, I was baptized, so I think we were probably, they weren't, I mean, my parents, we grew up and they went to, they were Unitarian.
Yeah.
And we went to church on a Sunday, and I was like, I did not like that at all. And one of the worst things when we came to the Netherlands when I was 7 or 8, they found their own Unitarian community. I remember quite distinctly, one Sunday we got up at like 2:30 in the morning, drove for hours to go up on this. The Netherlands is pretty flat, so you had to drive quite a way to get to the hill. It was a hill, and then we were all up there, and then we watched the sunrise, and someone had a cassette player, and while the sun rose, they played Cat Stevens' "Morning Has Broken," and that really turned me off, brother. Let me tell you, from any kind of religion and Cat Stevens, this is like, no, this is not. What the hell are we doing here? This is not cool. So and I've always had respect, certainly on No Agenda, early on. If say "God damn" or something like that, I would get notes. People would say, "Hey, man, please don't take the Lord's name in vain." And we don't piss on anyone's religion. We never have. We don't care. It's not who we are. We're just what you do, whatever you want to do. And so I've just always had respect. One of our biggest donors is Muslim. And he'll send in a note, Sir Onimus of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia, and he'll send in a note, and he'll when it's Passover or when it's Yom Kippur, it's like there's a lot of room for everybody, and I love that. And I think No Agenda is really good in that regard, and I think we have a lot of Christians and Catholics who listen to the show because we debunk a lot of crap, and we've never we don't. I mean, John may say the blacks or the gays, but he's just old. But we don't shit on anybody. And we have trans listeners, we have gay listeners, we have all kinds of, I should say, producers. And so it's really quite a diverse group. And so, I don't talk about my faith on the show on No Agenda. I mean, it's like I wouldn't talk about a lot. Just lots of stuff we don't talk. No, who cares? We're there to deconstruct media and have a good time. That's what it's about.
Well, and it's interesting too because, like, I met Mark. I took him and his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, out for.
Mark Void Zero?
Yeah, Mark Void Zero.
Oh, yeah, he went through quite the transformation.
Yeah, and I remember when, our conversations, not very often, but occasional conversations, kind of went from just purely talking about tech stuff, and then he
was
started
into
telling
aliens
me,
and stuff. He was using occult, aliens, all kinds of stuff, and all of a sudden, Catholic. Like old school, hardcore, old core. Yeah, really cool. Yeah. And so, I gave my testimony to him, and he's like, "That's so cool." And let me tell you how important the Virgin Mary is. He sent me all kinds of books. It's different from where I'm at, but I love that. I mean, I like reading stuff. I like understanding stuff. I like conspiracies. So this is a pretty big one. This is the guy said, like, Jesus said, I'm going to be condemned. They're going to kill me. I'm going to die for your sins. I'm going to come back after 3 days, and then I'll come back and I'll show you. And he came back, and 500 people witnessed him, which is detailed in Acts. There's at a certain point, like, you can only make up so much, and you just have to. All right, if I'm going to believe that 9/11 was a total inside job, and I can point to the fake evidence, then I've got to believe this too. I can't believe one and the other, particularly with the amount of evidence that evidence is maybe the wrong word, of writing about it. Scholars have dissected this for thousands of years. It's still here. And look at all the language we still use. When you hit that air pocket, you hear the whole plane going, "Oh God. Oh, Jesus, help me." So there's a lot. That's probably the most fun thing is reading, like, I see you, Sting. Every breath you take, every step you make. I see you, Sting. You took that right from the Bible. I mean, there's words, entire songs, names, and I love the names that have been used for products, and I see where they come from in the Bible. Hey, I'm 58. This is cool to learn this now.
Well, and I think it is, you have to have such big blinders on to think that Western civilization has not been the most impacted by Christianity above any other religions out there.
Right on.
If you're looking at China, obviously things are a little different, but up until at the recent few years, it really seemed like Western civilization was ahead of all the other civilizations not in terms of necessarily specific accomplishments, but in terms of the important things like the freedom of speech, the individual liberty, the a government that's elected by the people rather than passed on from generation to generation.
How about the individual? The individual as I mean, it used to. I'm actually working with this on a couple of people. How Bitcoin connects to God, and if it does, and it does in one way. If you look at before Christ, it was the family and land. The individual was not as important. That was to be married off to connect to join land together. Christ really brought the individual and the responsibilities into play, which, of course, 1,000 years later ultimately became the Magna Carta, which is now the genesis of the Constitution. And throughout that, coin cutting and clipping and control of money has been quite the issue. I was talking to Max Kaiser about this at lunch. He says, "Oh, I can help you with that." He says, "Bitcoin is Jesus 2.0." He says, "God tried this Jesus thing, and we made a mess of it. So he said, I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to give you Bitcoin. You got it. It's going to be there. They can't get rid of it. You guys run with it or not." That's the Max Kaiser version.
Yeah, that sounds like Max Kaiser. Bitcoin is everything.
I love that. That cracked me up. But I don't mock it out of hand. I take it into account.
Yeah. Well, it's wild stuff. Well, I just glanced at the clock. I know we've been running for a good long time.
For 2.5 hours.
I'm happy to talk to you, obviously, and we have talked for many more than just 2.5 hours. But I also want to be sensitive to your time as well as.
I'm just tired now. I'm hungry. I want to eat something. The
yeah,
dog needs to
you got some steak in the fridge. You're gonna cook up, or what are you gonna on me?
We eat burgers for breakfast, brother. I'm telling you, we
Nice.
eat. We're almost carnivores here. Tina,
Awesome.
ever since she went on pretty much all, because there's been lots of psyops about meat. Red meat, you're gonna die. It's cancerous. It's gonna sit in your system for years, and it's sludge and all that. And, I've never felt so good as to just really eating animal protein every single day. And we've cut out, seed oils, none of that. And it's actually cheaper. When we get it from K&C cattle, and we get like a third of a cow, which lasts quite a long time for us. And they give all the cuts, and they're beautiful cuts. She's making cool recipes, tri-tip with coffee rubs, and I mean, you name it, man. It's just, you got to come out and have some meat with us.
I will.
Come share some meat.
I promise. I'll definitely come out for that.
We have a railing now up to the suite, so you won't fall off when you drink too much. So
Well, I'm still not drinking.
Really?
I took last year off. That was my experiment. Yeah. As I wanted to, because what I noticed is during COVID, I was hardly ever drinking. I maybe drank like 4 times during COVID. I thought, well, this isn't that hard. Let me just do a whole year, because I know that, like, I've never really felt any negative stuff from drinking, but it is a poison. It's objectively a poison.
Hey, yeah.
And so
that's why we take it.
Well, yeah. And so I thought, well, let me just do a whole year. And I did a year, and technically I'm allowed by myself to drink now.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten around to it. And I don't know that I will. I may not drink again for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I get it. I completely. So that's analogous to my weed stores. Like, I just stopped. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah, and I don't. It's not that I didn't enjoy drinking, but it was mostly about the people I was with, not about the alcohol.
That would be pretty logical.
Yeah. So it's I don't know, but again, I'm obviously happy to see you guys, and we'll do it in person.
Get your ass out to Hill Country, brother. You're welcome anytime.
Yes, I will definitely do that.
Don't let another 4th of July go by.
Yeah, I know. It's and time's accelerating, as you well know.
That's the crazy part.
The years are taking less and less time.
How old are you now? You're 52?
52, yeah.
52, yeah. Well, you'll never catch up.
Well, I can try.
Never catch up to me. Never catch up to me, brother. I'm now the oldest kid on the block. It's great. Actually, yeah, I'm the oldest one now.
It was about 6 years ago where I came into a company to run it, and I realized that I was literally the oldest person there, and I wasn't even 50 yet. I was like, holy shit.
And they have a lot to learn, these youngins, don't they?
Yes. Darren says 152. Yes, Darren, I'm trying to leave the 1 out just to make myself look younger, but it technically is 152. You're correct.
How many people are watching us now?
Oh, we're down to 54.
Oh, man.
I know.
How many do you get in total on these things?
So it'll vary. I think we'll probably get 20,000-ish on this one,
nice.
maybe more. Here's the thing. I'm recording a podcast that just happens to have video. So I did not at all publicize the fact that you're going to be on here.
That's good.
I told a few people, and I think 1 or 2 of those might have said something on Twitter, but for the most part, like, I didn't post on No Agenda Social. I didn't talk about it anywhere because I wanted, it's the podcast episode that I want to go out there, not have a bunch of people watching the video. But obviously, the video of this is going to be online.
That's how you do your grift. You got to do your grift. You got to sell your shit. I got it.
That's right.
I'm with you. Buy some of those EMP things, people. Buy one send it to me.
That's right.
They're expensive.
They're not cheap. They're not cheap. But you know, when you need one, you need one.
All. Yeah, you never know.
That's the thing, because you wouldn't want your generator to not start when you get hit by an EMP.
I'm seriously. I got to look into I think the ground. I got to look into the engineering of it. Electro engineering, but sounds reasonable.
I think it's legit. It's just a product that
I won't have anything to power. I mean, everything else will be fried.
It depends. Well, actually, if you buy
lights.
Yeah, well, and I will give you some of the ponchos as well. I got to replenish the stock here, but the ponchos do block alpha and beta radiation, so that provides some level of assurance.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's well documented. You still got to watch out for gamma, though. That might be a problem.
Always on the lookout for gamma.
Mm-hmm.
Gamma is dangerous.
For sure. Don't do gamma radiation.
Hey kids, don't do gamma.
Not good. Yeah, not good for you.
Not good for you. Not good for you.
Exactly.
All right,
your teeth
Gene,
will fall out.
This was fun, man. I liked it.
Good.
Long, but
good.
But it's always good talking with you. You don't have to come by for a month or 2. I'm tired of you. But then come on by.
Okay, that sounds good. No, I'll definitely get out there. I know I've been saying that for like 6 months, but the last time I was going to come out, I had a little emergency I had to go take care of. But
I know.
We'll get
it's
one scheduled.
It's all good. Okay, man.
And thank you for being on, dude. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank everybody in the chat room. That was fun watching it all fly by. A lot of people I don't know. Some names I do recognize.
There'll be a lot more people that you don't know that'll watch this eventually, and then they'll know who you are.
There you go.
Yeah, because they all know me anyway. You know.
Yeah, you're Sir Gene.
That's
Everyone
right.
knows. All right, brother.
All right, man. Thank you.
Do I just hang up? Do I just leave?
Yeah, you could just close the browser. It's that simple.
Okay. And he said, poof.
There we go. Then that was Adam Cree. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Like I said to Adam just now, this was mainly a podcast recording, but this was the video component of it. So you guys got to see the podcast get made in IRL, as it were. And then the episode will be out probably later today, or if not, then tomorrow. And then the video will be up. I didn't cover a whole lot of Adam's backstory, just a little bits and pieces here and there, because I'm assuming most people already know by now. I mean, he was on Rogan 5 times, the most recent only a month ago. So there's a lot of stuff that you can get from his other interviews. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Defango, I don't know if you're here or not, but Defango will definitely be, as far as I know anyway. I don't want to speak for him, but I think that he will be on later on today. I will probably pop in for a little bit. I don't know that I got some other stuff I got to take care of. But I'm going to try and make our regular Griftcast show as well. And I appreciate you guys for coming out. And this is not a huge audience, so in a way, you guys kind of got a seat at the small theater with a very limited number of tables for this live presentation, which is what I always like to do. I don't like to see musicians or comedians or anybody else in huge auditoriums. I like to see them in a nice small venue. And that's kind of what this has been. So I'm going to sign off as well, guys. We'll see you later on today if you come back, which I hope you do. And if you can thumbs up the channel, this video, that would be awesome. If you want to subscribe to the channel, even better. I've been on here every single day. We'll continue to be on for a good long time. So definitely come out here and say hi. And the regular shows are a lot more interactive, where we read the comments and grift for a lot of money. So bring your wallets, guys. That's an important part of it. All right. With that, I'm going to sign off. Take care.